Hello, hello. Welcome. We'll give it a minute for everybody to get in here for a second. But there's speakers going on right now. So let's take a look while everybody comes on in.
God bless you all.
It is another packed house.
Ladies
Love
and
it.
gentlemen, please welcome to the stage United States Senator Ted Budd.
I'm going to turn the music down. As soon as it's done, I'll turn it back up. If you're new here, I do that often so we don't get a copyright. And let's listen.
Well, hello, Greensboro, North Carolina. How's everybody doing? All right, all right. I'll tell you what, it is great to be here. And we are all here because we need to elect Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States. We love our country and we want to save it. But in order to save our country, we have to elect Donald J. Trump as the next president. He was 45 and he's going to be, with our help and with God's help and God's grace, the 47th president of the United States. You know, in just a few moments, it's always great to have Donald J. Trump back in the old North State, isn't it? Absolutely. And you know why we here in the old North State, why we love Donald J. Trump? Because he's awesome. That's right. We love him because our lives were better when he was in the White House. But friends, after 4 years of Kamala Harris, our lives are unsafe and unaffordable, and we can't have 4 more years of Kamala Harris. We've got drugs and dangerous criminals flooding into our country. But what does Kamala Harris say about her own record here? Well, first of all, she denies that she was ever even the border czar. Can you believe that? But then she claims that she's done a great job handling immigration. You can't have it both ways. And then she claims she's going to allow illegal immigrants to have transgender surgeries paid for by you. Well, the truth is that Kamala Harris has failed, and she's failed as the border czar. But under Donald J. Trump, we're going to have a wall and not weakness. But these last 4 years, because they decided not to do that these last 4 years, we've not only lost our security, we've lost the American dream. Every North Carolinian, friends from all over the country, they're watching right now, but that's us right here. That's folks from the other 99 great counties around this wonderful state. They are spending $1,100 more every single month just because Kamala Harris decided to take our country on a reckless spending spree. So, what does she say about her record? Well, she tells us that she's got a plan to lower prices. And all we have to do is elect her as president, and we'll find out how great her plan is. We've heard that one before, haven't we? Well, there's one big problem with that. She's already had 4 years in office. Why doesn't she fix it now? I'll tell you why she doesn't fix it right now. Because she would not change one single thing, and that's what she told us. Well, her dangerous, radical, liberal policies that got us into this mess, but it's going to take Donald J. Trump to get us out of this mess. You know, every 4 years we hear folks come up to podiums like this and they tell us, this election is the most important election of our lifetime. You ever heard that before? Well, it's true, because the radical left, they keep ratcheting up the stakes. But right now, and you heard the great Virginia Fox say it, this is the most important election in our country's lifetime. So here's what you need to do. We need to do a few things. The first, we need to pray. We need to pray for our country. We need to pray for Donald J. Trump. And we need to pray for my great friend, Senator J.D. Vance, to be the Vice President of the United States. The next is we need to chip in. We need to chip in because every dollar makes a difference. The next thing is to volunteer your time. Go to TrumpForce47.com. Sign up to knock doors, make phone calls, or maybe work a poll. And the last thing, and the most important thing, is we need you to vote. You plan on doing that if you haven't already? Well, if you have already, maybe you can take 10 other friends that haven't and bring them along. But when you go to the polls, we need you to vote for Donald J. Trump, of course. That's probably why we're here. But we need you not to just walk out at that point. Go all the way down that ballot. All the way down that ballot. Because Donald J. Trump, he's going to need a lot of help when he gets to Washington, D.C. We're going to be that help, aren't we? Kamala Harris and the radical left, they are coming for this country. And they think that they're coming for this country through North Carolina. But are we going to let that happen? Because we're going to get out and vote. We're going to elect Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States. God bless you. May God bless the United States of America.
Hello, thank you for joining us tonight. Just wanted to bring up, sorry about that. Just wanted to bring up some of the speakers that are coming on so you guys can hear them instead of just our commander-in-chief. So bear with me, the volume will stay low with the music, but I may switch this over here in a second. Let's see. I want to see if there's any more speakers coming up at the moment. Stephen Miller should still be coming up. Oh, I hate cell phones. Anyway, Stephen Miller should still be coming up. So let's take a look. And I will turn the volume back up as soon as he approaches the stage and begins to speak. Thank you.
Ted Budd, Congresswoman Virginia Fox, and other candidates up and down the ballot here in the Tar Heel state of North Carolina. Isn't it great to hear from Peter Navarro, back-to-back dates after he was a political prisoner of the far left? Same with our friend Stephen Bannon, hopefully out of prison in a few short days.
Can't wait
to soon speak his piece, because it's all about the First Amendment here at Right Side Broadcasting. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Birch Gold. Regardless of who wins this November, even 4 years of a conservative presidency will be very difficult to get down that $35 trillion of national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gasoline on a dumpster fire. You don't have much control over the election's outcome, but what you can do is diversify your savings and protect them and your financial future with Birch Gold. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife. And they can protect your IRA or 401k. Just text Trump to 989898. Plus, when you make a purchase from Birch Gold by Election Day, you'll get a free Trump Fight Silver coin. These one-of-a-kind coins honor a significant moment of history. July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, when President Trump took a bullet for democracy. The design caught the attention of President Trump, who immediately got one for himself. That's a true story because I handed it to him. Now, you can have one just like the president does. Go ahead and take this easy step towards securing your financial future. Protect your savings and get your free Trump silver coin. Text Trump to 989898. Wow, what a time to be alive, Christina. This is 14 days left to the most important election of our lifetime.
I can't even believe it. Super Tuesday, 14 days away, and we are going to have coverage for you. We are going to go around the clock at RSBN, covering it like only we can. So make sure that you mark it on your calendar, not just to make sure you get out there and vote. We recommend early voting, of course, but make sure you want to tune in. You don't want to miss a moment of our election coverage. We have been on the campaign trail. We know this better than anybody else. We do it better than anybody else at RSB. And you know, it's interesting.
Guys,
I just read a
switch
report
us
that
over really quick to this other coverage. It'll be a little bit better video, audio, and they are covering it. So let's take a look.
Battleground states, Donald Trump, the 45th president. He's going to join us in a few minutes. He loves Real America's Voice so much. He called in impromptu today. We caught a little bit of time on the phone with him. We're going to play that. He makes a lot of news in that conversation. We're going to bring that in a second. All right. 1 week from today, though, Steve Bannon gets released from prison. And if you haven't seen the documents that Just the News has been reporting on, you should take a look. It turns out that Steve Bannon was qualified to be released from prison early under the STEP Act. That was the Judicial Reform Act that everybody was excited about several years ago. He didn't get out. The Biden-Harris Justice Department kept him in prison to the last minute. Go check that out. And if that's not important, let's give you something that happened just 5 hours ago. 5 hours ago, we learned that a bar complaint in the District of Columbia has been filed against Congresswoman Liz Cheney based on the story that we did on this show a week ago. Remember, we told you Liz Cheney went around Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyers and tried to get her to cooperate without working through the lawyers. She had lawyered up, which means you're not supposed to do that if you're in government. Well, today it came with a reckoning. The America First Legal Foundation filed a bar complaint against Liz Cheney, saying she violated the rules for conduct for lawyers in Washington, D.C. We'll keep you up to date on how that plays out. Now, I want to bring in my amazing co-host, Amanda Head. We normally share the stage together. Today, we're going to have a larger cast and a lot of fun with President Trump. But Amanda, President Trump calls in kind of impromptu. We got about an hour or two notice, and he wants to talk substance and puts a couple new ideas on the table. Ending gain of function, something you and I've been talking about on the show for a long time, and coming up with a way to compensate and help families who've been injured by illegal aliens led into this country who've created some of the most heinous crimes. Some pretty big ideas 2 weeks out from Election Day.
Yeah, you know, there is a stark difference between these two campaigns. You have Donald Trump, who is probably one of the most accessible candidates and presidents, by the way, his 4 years in office, most accessible candidate that we have ever seen. When it comes to policy prescriptions, he has an idea for every single policy and even the sub policies underneath those. And then when it comes to Kamala Harris, she's not very accessible. The media tries to have press conferences with her. They try to throw impromptu questions at her, and she every once in a while will address maybe one of them if it seems like it's something she wants to take a bite at, but otherwise she's on up the steps to her plane or she's walking out of the conference or whatever the case may be. And when it comes to policy prescriptions for her, she's in a very tricky situation because she has flip-flopped on so many issues. So if she goes on something like a Joe Rogan podcast, someone like Joe Rogan, who's not necessarily in the political sphere, so he has absolutely no fear when it comes to pinning something to the wall on politics, that's a dangerous place for her to be. So you have access versus inaccess, policy prescriptions versus gray matter.
Well, there's a lot of big question marks over the head of Kamala Harris. She doesn't answer much. And, you woke up this morning, you reminded me of something right away. She picked on Donald Trump last week saying, I think he's getting tired of all this campaign work. You reminded me this morning. She took the entire day off. We're 14 days from election. And she took the entire day off. And you know what? When President Trump called in, he didn't miss a beat on this. He jumped right on this. Let's go play the interview. I think people, let's not tease it anymore. Let's just go tell people let them listen to what Donald Trump said. Guys, go roll tape. This is fun. All right, folks, joining us right now, the 45th president of the United States and the man who the polls say is most likely to be the 47th president, President Donald J. Trump. Sir, good to have you on the show.
Well, thank you very much, John.
All right. Kamala Harris has been out on the campaign trail offending Christians. You've been out on the trail reaching out to Christians, talking to them. Her notion that people who believe in Jesus don't belong in her rallies. I'd like to get your reaction to that.
Well, usually that would be the end of a campaign. When you say something stupid like she said, that would be the end of the campaign. And I saw the young men and they made the statement and she said, you're at the wrong rally. In the old days when a lot of things were different and values were different, John, that would be the end of a campaign. You just say, let's wrap it up. But, she's getting away with murder. They lie and they talk, they say, I've never seen anything like this. I had to go through crooked Hillary. I had to go through Biden. And they were not good. But this one lies more than anything. She'll tell you, you come up with 10 points that you've believed in all your life, and all of a sudden, they just spin it around, knowing that it's wrong what they're doing. Yeah. So it's a strange group that we're dealing with, as you know better than most.
Well, it seems like the American people are making a choice, and a clear choice. I want to ask a little bit about something she did last week. You outnumber her in rallies and interviews and press conferences. She suggested for a while last week, maybe you were tired and exhausted, but today she's missing from the campaign trail. I'd like to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, and I've already done 3 events, and I have a big one coming up.
Right.
I'm going up to North Carolina and making a speech of, I don't know, I guess they say 20,000 people or something. It's so disgraceful. That's what I mean. They make up stories. Somebody said, are you at all tired? I said, no, I'm invigorated. I'm not even a little bit. So as you know, I've gone 52 days in a row.
Amazing.
And now I have 14 left, and I'm not taking a day off. And she took today off, and she's taking, I think, tomorrow off too.
Yeah.
And how do you take 2 days off when you have 14 days to the presidency? No, they make it up. It's fiction, and it's a disgrace that they're allowed to say it. I've never dealt with a group like this. I have never felt stronger, never felt better. Now, here's the problem. When you say that, they'll say Trump was very defensive. He fought,
not defensive at all.
Like with the debate, when she made up stories, and I checked them on the stories very quickly but nicely. Yep. They said, "Oh, I fell into her trap." These are the media is the absolute worst, with the exception of you, of course.
Yeah, they've had their thumb on the scale. There's no doubt.
They're terrible. They are terrible. There's no question about it.
Yeah, no
Good.
doubt.
Go ahead, John.
Sir, I want to ask a little bit. You've spent a lot of time meeting with families who were victims of the open border and the Biden-Harris family. Some people are beginning to talk. They've suffered so much, and they have a lot of needs. They may have counseling. They may have other things. Are you open? Some people are beginning to talk about the notion of creating a government fund to help people who've been victimized by crime from illegal aliens that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris brought into the country. Are you open to such a notion?
I am. It's the first I'm hearing about it, but it was talked about, and then I guess people shut it down. But I really am. These people are I've met so many of the families. They've been just decimated by these people that are allowed to come into our country. They're murderers and drug dealers, and the worst people are allowed to come into our country, and they're poisoning our country. They're poisoning. What Biden and Kamala have done to this country is unthinkable that this could be. And, there's another couple of elements to it. You have 325,000 missing children.
Yes.
325,000 missing children. They're dead, or they're sex slaves or slaves. Nobody knows exactly, but 325,000 are missing according to all the reports. Yeah. It's not even imaginable. The damage that they've caused as president and vice president will never be forgotten.
Yeah, people still reeling from the damage of the COVID-19 pandemic and what China did. We now know the truth. You were right. It did emanate from Wuhan. And our best scientists, our best FBI experts think that gain of function research was the impetus for this. That got restarted about a decade ago. If you're president, do you consider an executive order saying no more gain of function research?
I think that's something we would certainly discuss. I tell you what, I was the one that shut it down. They were paying money to China.
Yeah,
now,
that's right.
I shut it down just saying, why are we paying money to China? Who would have known that they were doing Wuhan?
Yeah.
But I did say Wuhan, that's where it came from. I had no doubt about that.
Did.
You know, they were trying to say it came from France, it came from Italy, or it came from caves with bats. No, I've always felt it came from Wuhan. Now that's been determined.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. You can see that it's there.
Terrible.
As you're out in the trail, you've met with so many people, the economy, insecurity, the border, all creating the perfect storm. People feel like this country's in the wrong direction. On day one, when you get in, what is the first 3 priorities for you? What do you want to get done that first day?
Well, when you think we're 85% wrong direction, and Kamala said she would do nothing different, okay, if you can imagine. Now, she choked with that answer because only a total fool would give an answer like that. But she's not very good, and she's not a good person, and she's not a smart person. And there's never been anything like it. There's never been a person like this allowed to run for the office. The most radical left person in the Senate, far further left, they say, than Bernie Sanders. And so we're not going to let it happen. I'd close the borders. I would absolutely, without question, we have to get those borders closed, and we have to drill, baby, drill, and we have to bring down costs, because it's not just the oil. We have to bring the inflation has just killed our seniors and people on a fixed income like nothing else. And then we have to fix up our military again. I did it once, and now I have to do it again. In all fairness, a smaller version, but we get billions of dollars to Afghanistan, if you can believe it, in the most embarrassing single moment of our history as a country. So we're going to do that. We're going to always take care of that. Very important.
Yeah. Well, you had a record, particularly on energy, where you were able to really help make things affordable. Now today, people are in energy poverty. They have to decide whether they're going to pay their utility bill or their food. Really remarkable. Energy.
Well, I just saw a report, John, came out with me. It was $1.84 because I always hear these people saying $2.40 and $2. It was $1.84. I thought it was $1.87. It's $1.84. That was the national average. And can you imagine? And now look at where we are and where we will be, because what will happen is if they ever won this thing, they would just cut off everything. The only reason they let it continue the way I had it was that they could see what was going on. It was starting to rise uncontrollably, so they stopped immediately. Yeah. But they will, if they ever had their druthers, they would. And which I tell you what, if they were allowed to do it, they would get rid of all fossil fuels immediately. Yeah. There's no doubt. And that'd be the end of our country, by the way. Yeah, we don't have the ability to absorb that loss. You're right. One last thing, because you took on such an important role in bringing Iran to its knees financially, militarily. We saw this week leaked documents that the United States leaked it from our ally Israel about what it might do against Iran. Having that sort of traitorism in that, or treason inside our country to betray our ally. Your thoughts about this administration, its inability to protect information from Iran? This is the worst president in the history of our country. She's worse than he is, the worst vice president. She would be a worse president than he is, if that's even believable. There would be never a president, and she would be just horrible. And what happened with Israel, with the documents that were leaked, is not even fathomable. And they better find that person, because that person hates our country. That's a hell of a thing to do. And you're talking about major stuff. You're talking about giving the Israeli plans having to do with Iraq and Iran, and not just Iran. You know, it's having to do with lots of different options and lots of different things, lots of different countries. I mean, they got everything. Yeah. I hear it's really bad. But can you imagine being Israel and waking up to that news?
And
our country is uniquely incompetent. There's never been anything like it. These are the worst two people, and they're lazy. And you know what? She's not even campaigning for a couple of days because she doesn't have the stamina to do it. She's got no stamina. She's got nothing. And can you imagine? You have 14 days, and you got to work every day. I've done 52 days now, And I have 14 more, and I'm not missing any days. I can tell you that.
And you're going to your 5th and 6th event in a couple of minutes, which in one day.
Yeah, I'm leaving for a big speech. Yeah, a big one.
Well, sir,
a big one.
I know how busy you are. It is such an honor to get a few minutes with you on the busy campaign trail. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. What a great honor to have you on the show.
Well, we are lucky to have you, and I'm talking about we as a country. We're lucky to have you because you're really one of the great people. You're a real journalist, what they used to be when they were great. Oh. We don't have too many of them left. Yeah, we're lucky to have you, man.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much, sir. Have a good campaign trail today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks, sir.
Well, there you have it. Kamala Harris has no stamina, and the Biden administration can't protect national secrets, even for our allies like Israel. Pretty fun interview. It was 9 minutes, but a lot of substance in there, Amanda.
A lot of substance, and that is his style. He crams it in, and I think that a lot of Americans hear what he has to say and has specific solutions for a lot of the problems that we have experienced the last 4 years, and problems that have been heightened in the last 4 years, maybe existing longer than that. But I especially agree with the last thing he said with regards to this country being very lucky to have John Solomon, and I know you're blushing over there in Washington, but he's spot on about that for sure.
I feel very lucky because I get to go on this network every night at Real America's Voice and get on air every day. You've taught me how to do television. I am so grateful to be on with you. And we got a lot more. By the way, if you enjoyed that conversation with President Trump, we got a whole lot more President Trump tonight. He's going to be speaking in a little bit in Greensboro, North Carolina. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk to the guy that we normally hand the baton off to every night, our good friend Grant Stinchfeld. We'll bring him in to react to President Trump and all the things going on today. But first, a commercial break. You're looking at a live shot, Greensboro, North Carolina, where the president will be speaking shortly. Let's go get a few messages from our great sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, I'm John Rich. Just as wokeness and censorship have subverted the music industry, they've also crushed free expression on social media. Censors have suspended social media users, canceled entire news channels, obliterated online discussion platforms, and even banished a sitting American president from big tech platforms. Well, I'm here to say there's a place for you, a place where patriots can speak freely without fearing some unknown, unseen speech enforcer that wants to shut you down. That place is called Truth Social, a free speech social media platform that hosts breaking news, TV streaming channels, and powerful commentary on all the issues facing our great nation. Break free of big tech and make your voice heard. Join me on an uncancelable platform where I like to debut my songs and where you can read exclusive commentary from our 45th president, Donald J. Trump. I'll see you on Truth Social, where freedom lives.
A Kamala Harris presidency will destroy our country and the polls are tight. Donald Trump is the only one who can stop her. Trump fell just 42,000 ballots shy of the official count in 2020. Turning Point PAC is on the ground right now in Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, deploying thousands of ballot chasers to make sure that never happens again. Support Trump and save America by donating to Turning Point PAC. Go to tprav.com to make a gift of any amount and receive a copy of my new book, Right Wing Revolution, for free. Join us in the battle to save America.
Ryobi is the #1 cordless outdoor power brand with a tool for every season, exclusively at the Home Depot.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same.
Do you really trust her to run this country for the next 4 years? How have the last 4 years gone under him? While your tax dollars are being funneled overseas and to support illegal immigration, they've left our people behind, offering just $750 in aid as if that's enough. With political insanity that we're living through, supply chain shortages, natural disasters, and the looming threat of another pandemic, you need to prepare your family now. The Wellness Company offers 5 critical medical kits packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, amoxicillin, Z-Pak, and more. Each kit is backed by Dr. Peter McCullough. Ordering is simple. Just a few clicks and it's delivered to your door. Head to twc.health/voice and use code VOICE to save up to $60 off. That's twc.health/voice and use code VOICE to save up to $60 off plus free shipping right now.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Amanda Head. Welcome to this Real America's Voice live coverage of President Trump's rally. He's going to be touching down in Greensboro, North Carolina shortly. He was in Greenville, North Carolina yesterday. He is peppering that state. And what does that tell you? It tells you that that is a very important state to his campaign. You know who is important to this broadcast? My co-host, John Solomon, our colleague here at Real America's Voice, Grant Stinchfield, and of course, our correspondent on the ground there in North Carolina, Tara Dahl. Welcome all.
Great to be with you.
Tara, I want to go to you first because you are there on the ground. Bring us to the room. Tell us about the crowd. What do you think President Trump is going to be talking about the most tonight as he speaks to North Carolinians?
Guys, this crowd is fired up. It is standing room only. Behind me, it is full of people standing. It is jam-packed. There's a line waiting to get in. People are fired up. And I think just talking to people outside waiting to get in, one thing that I noticed that was different at other rallies is there is a lot of college students here. We know that North Carolina has about 18 universities that are Division I only, and so it's a college town. And so I talked to a lot of the kids, the students, and some of their big concerns, guys, were buying a house when they get out of college, buying groceries, getting married, starting a family. Those were some of the big concerns. And then talking to other people too. Number one, it's the border. And when I asked them what do they want to see President Trump do on day one, almost everybody said the border. You build the wall, shut down the border. But people here are fired up. They're excited to hear President Trump. And I think he's going to talk about the economy. He's going to talk about the border. And those are the main issues that people care about.
Yeah, and we heard from President Trump just a little while ago because, John, you spoke to him earlier today. John, I don't know if a lot of people necessarily realize President Trump and the youth vote and what he has done to get that out. He has deployed a lot of conservative influencers, a lot of young people on social media. How do you think it's faring for him?
Oh, listen, he's making great gains, particularly young African-American men, young college students. They're, what Charlie Kirk's doing with his outreach. You see it every day, these students. And, Tara said something very profound because she said what the college students said they hope gets addressed. If you listen to that interview with President Trump, those were the three things he told us. Listen, I'm going to make things affordable again right away. Day one, I'm going to work on inflation, starting with energy and then everything else downstream from it. I'm going to close the border so that everyone feels more secure in their homes and everywhere else. And then I'm going to rebuild the military because we all feel a lot more unsafe in this unstable world. So his talking points are actually the wish points of the very people that Tara was talking about. And there's a moment in the interview that I was dying to ask Tara about. I'm so glad she's on the show tonight. Tara, he talked about this incredible leak of intelligence of what the U.S. knew Israel might do in Iran, and it gets blasted out to the world, compromises an Israeli potential operation. President Trump lambasted that, saying, what a disservice, and he raises the concern allies aren't going to share anything with us anymore if we can't protect information. Love to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, it was a great interview, John, that you guys did. It was a fantastic interview. And that is the concern in Israel. I've been hearing and been in touch with sources. And as soon as that came out, I got messages about how they believe it was an intentional leak, people in Israel, because they just see the animosity that this administration has towards Israel. And this is not the first time that they've seen a leak. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, the letter from Secretary Austin and Secretary Blinken about having an arms embargo if Israel doesn't increase humanitarian aid to Gaza, that was leaked as well. And plans before that have been leaked. And so they're looking at it as intentional. But we know that there are Iranian spies within our government. That is something that we've known since at least 2023. Robert O'Malley, who has his security clearance revoked right now, and there's an investigation into why, if it's ties to the Iranian Islamic Republic, the government, and then that goes all the way within our Defense Department into DOD, into a senior level position who was tied to Robert O'Malley into that, and that official still works at DOD. And so we don't know who it is. We don't know if it was the DOD is saying it's not that Pentagon official, but they don't know. And now the FBI is coming in to look at it. But I have absolutely zero trust in the FBI coming in to look at this and getting to the bottom of who actually leaked it. I have zero doubt that they will ever get or prosecute anyone, but they should prosecute them. This is a really big deal. And Israel will not be able to trust the U.S., and they won't be able to trust them to be able to tell them or share intelligence with them at all, because they know that they will leak it and they will stop them from doing what Israel wants to do.
Yeah. Grant, let me ask you this, because President Trump came into office, and this is a guy who was not a diplomat or a statesman, no experience in foreign policy. And then he comes in, no new war started under his watch, the Abraham Accords, record peace across this country. And now in this election, you are starting to see people being peeled off from the left, people who voted for Democrats in the past because they thought they were the anti-war party. How much of a difference do you think that's going to make for President Trump this time around?
Well, I think it makes a huge difference, and it all plays back to every single story we've been talking about today. And so, President Trump was really the one who coined the deep state. 10 years ago, I used to call it a ruling class of career bureaucrats. You would think that this leak would have come from the, quote, deep state ruling class of bureaucrats. But I'm going to tell you something. I actually believe this leak was well orchestrated. I would not be surprised if both Lloyd Austin and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken were well aware of this leak. We know of Blinken and Biden and Obama's love for Iran. And I'm going to say that because they have literally enriched Iran as Iran's trying to enrich uranium. Think about that. And they have a love affair with Iran. So I think this goes to the highest levels. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm with you, Amanda and Tara. I don't think that the FBI is going to investigate any of this. And if I can just comment on your point, Amanda, about why Americans love President Trump and how all of this plays into it. It goes back to John's interview with President Trump. Think about this. You're going to start a fund for people that were harmed, that had loved ones that were harmed by illegal aliens. The only thing I'm upset about is, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I think of this 2 years ago? It's a brilliant maneuver. Now, you're gonna need a lot of money for this, because when you consider drunk driving of illegals in here, that probably does more damage to American families than any other crime in America. But this was a brilliant, brilliant idea. And John, I love that you got it out of him, and then you add in the ban and gain of function research. The only thing I worry about that is, if our enemies are doing it, do we not want somebody doing it? But I don't trust anybody in government to be doing it. So it puts Trump in a real dilemma on that front when it comes to gain of function.
Yeah, that's a great point. Grant, I want to say one thing. Grant, last night, Grant was the conductor of this incredible conversation. I felt like I was on a John L. Williams symphony. And we're talking about the importance of what Kamala Harris, you captured what Kamala Harris did that could be generationally damaging to the Democratic Party. Her insults to Christians and sort of the record of it. President Trump picks up on that today. If you go on Instagram, he's got an ad up now to young people saying, Kamala Harris, if you're a Christian, you don't belong in her party. She doesn't want you. I want you. And then he picks up on that same theme in the interview. Grant, I love what we were talking about last night. President Trump synced on that. This was a major campaign faux pas for the Harris and the Democrats, right?
Well, look, President Trump basically quoted Brian Glenn. So you talk about the 1, 2, 3 punch here with you and Biden and me. We were only missing Amanda. It would have been 4. And of course, Tara tonight is 5. But Brian Glenn said, any other political season, this would have been political suicide. What did President Trump say? He said the same thing. You got to wonder, is he watching Real America's Voice? Because he's literally saying everything we laid out. I just have one question. This country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Our love of God in this country is real. It is what our Constitution is based off of. In what world do you live in that you think you're going to run for president of the United States and tell someone who's praising Jesus to go to a different rally and you're in the wrong place? That is not the leader of the America I know and love. And I think it was a big mistake on her part. And maybe it'll motivate some of the 32 million Christians who aren't voting to maybe come out and vote. If there's anything that should get you off your butt, that should be it.
That should be it.
Tara, before we head to a break, I want to ask you something, because I think that this this is a thing in companies or in families or whatever the case may be. And it is also something that exists within a campaign where the culture starts at the top. And it's been really interesting this time around, more so than I think in 2020 or 2016. President Trump, just like the stories that we've been talking about, Grant, what you were talking about with John's interview, President Trump going to McDonald's, being a man of the people. And it seems like President Trump has made an argument more so this time around than any other time around, where he has said, look, you might not like what the Democrats are saying about me. You might even agree with what they are saying about me and agree that you don't like my tweets and you think that I'm mean and all of that. But just give me a chance. Look at my policies. Look at what I want to do on the economy. Look at what I want to do foreign policy wise and geopolitically. Look at how I want to shore up the border. Look at these things that I want to do for Americans, and just give me a chance. And Tara, what I've noticed is that is filtering down to President Trump's supporters. I hear all the time conversations among the MAGA faithful of them having conversations with people who are on the other side of the aisle. And sometimes it just takes a teeny little spark, and then someone is absolutely red-pilled. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually asked people that were standing in line today what they thought of former President Trump going to McDonald's, working at McDonald's, going through the drive-thru, giving people food. And they all loved it. And they said, that's why we love this president, because he's real. He's with us. He's one of us. And that was a lot of what people were saying, too, when they're going to the polls, is because they can't afford groceries. They can't afford to pay their rent, electricity, the gas, being able to buy a house out of college, raise a family. Those are the main concerns. So when you see President Trump, it was iconic. That was an iconic moment in the campaign that really, I think, we've never seen in any other president. You know, when he's at the drive-thru window waving, that photo along with him with fight, 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 that will go down in America's histories as some of the greatest photos, I believe. And that's what people are saying here, even at this rally, is that what they're saying? He's one of us. He's fighting for us. He understands how we feel, and he's doing what he can to help the average American.
Yeah. And look, I was a singing server for 12 years, so I'm very familiar with the wardrobe of servers. It's not like he threw on a pair of Dickies and went to work. He wasn't faking it. He wore, the French cuff white shirt. He's not afraid to show who he is. Yeah, but put himself in that environment, and it's incredible to see. All right, we've got to pay some bills, but for all of you, before we go, if you believe in taking America back with President Donald Trump in 2024, then you need this massive statement-making fixed blade knife. Trump 2024 is laser etched on a stainless steel blade with a waving American flag, and a stainless steel half guard keeps your fingers from slipping. The patriotic handle scales are crafted of a blue pack of wood panel that has Take America Back in white, surrounded by white stars and red and white striped acrylic panel. And the fixed blade knife comes with a belt sheath for ease of carry. Memorabilia during this era of Trump's political career are sure to surge in value as time goes on. So be sure to act fast and secure your very own piece of American history with this beautiful piece. Please be sure to visit bigtrumpknife.com. Easy enough to remember. Yep. Take America back. Let's take this country back with this election. Let your voice be heard every time you show this to your friends and family. So visit bigtrumpknife.com for this beautifully made collectible today. We're going to take a break and we'll be back.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year. It's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
A Kamala Harris presidency will destroy our country, and the polls are tight. Donald Trump is the only one who can stop her. Trump fell just 42,000 ballots shy of the official count in 2020. Turning Point PAC is on the ground right now in Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, deploying thousands of ballot chasers to make sure that never happens again. Support Trump and Save America by donating to Turning Point PAC. Go to tprav.com to make a gift of any amount and receive a copy of my new book, Right Wing Revolution, for free. Join us in the battle to save America.
If you use a pen, the Pen Tool Pro is a must-have multifunction creative gadget, perfect for every workspace.
It has a ruler, level, screw bit, ballpoint pen, and a stylus for touchscreen devices.
5 functional tools, all in one convenient place. A must-have for any creator.
From concept to creation, the Pen Tool Pro is your versatile companion, simplifying your workflow, putting the focus on what truly matters, your creativity. Scan the code to order the Pen Tool Pro while supplies last.
We all love recipes with gum.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we get down to business, there is a lot at stake in this upcoming election. But regardless of who is sitting in the White House, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. Even 4 years of a conservative presidency will not be enough to turn the tide on our $36 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. So you don't have too much control over the election's outcome. But what you can do right now is to protect your savings by diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economy upheavals, and global strife, and it can protect you now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, tax-free and penalty-free, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the U.S. dollar has declined. The price of gold has increased 40%. Coincidence? Text the word America to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and trust Birch Gold Group to protect your savings. Text America to the number 989898 today. All right, I want to bring back in this stupendous panel. My co-host, John Solomon, of course, our colleagues here at Real America's Voice, Grant Stinchfield, and Tara Dahl, who is there on the ground in North Carolina. John, I want to bounce back to something we were talking about before the break. This resonance that President Trump has. He is blue collar in a Tom Ford suit, and for whatever reason, for how successful he is, how wealthy he is, it just works with Americans.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he just has a unique ability to connect with what people are thinking, whether it's the students that Tara was interviewing, all the people that Grant and I talk to on the campaign trail every day. Every time you're out there, Amanda, he just feels authentic and real. And I think when you look at Kamala Harris, she doesn't feel real. When you have to take an entire day off of the campaign schedule to prepare for a single interview, you aren't authentic. You are not confident in your capabilities to communicate your ideas. And as President Trump so rightly pointed out, who takes off 14 days before election? I've never seen it. It's just crazy that she exited the stage today because she's so lacking in confidence, so lacking in ideas, so lacking in authenticity. And I think Donald Trump brings that in boatloads. And there's, whether hate him, love him, you have to acknowledge he's authentic. And he has that ability. If he goes by a construction site, he can strike up a conversation with a guy in a pale hat quicker than anyone I know. He knows how to do it because he relied on them to build his buildings, and he never forgot that those are the people that made him successful. And that carries through on every aspect of his campaign approach, and it's why he's so effective when he's working a crowd. He just understands the people. He may be wealthier than them, but he understands what they're going through.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Grant, President Trump we were talking about earlier about his accessibility, but he also has this authenticity. And what he told John about Kamala Harris taking it, we're 14 days out. This is go time. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to put the pedal to the metal such that the metal is going through the floorboard of the car and hitting the concrete.
Yeah, we have a little segment on our radio show. I know you're friends with my co-host Jen Horn, called the Biden Basement Briefing. That started during the 2020 campaign. We changed it to the Cackling Kamala Corner, but we really need to change it back to the Kamala Basement Briefing. She's literally using the same campaign strategy that Joe Biden did, and now maybe it's even getting worse. I don't think it's going to work for them this time around. I think President Trump is going to swamp the vote. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm. And in many respects, I think we needed the last 4 years. At least I didn't need it. None of you need it. And probably the people watching didn't need it. But many of the people that we've been talking about that aren't ingrained in the news, maybe they needed it to see just what can happen to this great nation of ours in such a short period of time. I think they're going to come out in full force and overload it. But I don't know how you take off 2 days. Forget about 2 days. 1 day, 2 hours. How do you even rest with 14 days left to go? It is go time, man. And she's kicking back, but you know, the fish rots from the head. And if Joe Biden is still the head of this government, which he never really was, but you see whose cues she's taking all this from.
Tara, we just learned a little while ago, I'm out here in Los Angeles and I pass by the LA Times building often, and we learned that for the first time in quite a few decades, they are actually not going to endorse the ticket with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on it. What do you think that says about the state of her campaign right now?
I think that says a lot because they have always endorsed the Democrat. We've always seen it, the mainstream media, the newspapers have always endorsed the Democrat. And so for them not to endorse, that just, it goes to show that she's a train wreck. And I think when the reason why she may have taken off today is because her campaign is looking at all of her events, and every single time she goes to an event and says something, it just goes downhill. And they're probably saying, you know what, I think it's just safer if we took a day off and took Biden's playbook and just didn't say anything for a while, because when you insult all Christians across the whole United States, that's a bad thing to do. And that's where you taint your campaign. So I think they said, you know what, it's probably better you just don't say anything. And when you do talk, do interviews on the media, because then they're scripted and they'll probably edit them like CBS did.
Yeah. Grant, and the preparation that she was taking advantage of today for an entire day where she should be campaigning was for an ABC interview that's pre-taped. It's not even live. She's not even going to be thrown impromptu questions where she's going to have to think on her feet.
Look, at this point in your political career, how are you not ready for interviews? You know, I go on other shows. I do interviews. I don't need the topics, and I'm not running for president. I'll talk about anything you need me to talk about, and I'll be proud to talk about it, and yet she's running for president. And she can't get there yet. And you know, to John's earlier point, well, it was really President Trump's earlier point about, John, how you're the only last real newsman left. Let me give you an example. Newsweek writes an article about President Trump's time at McDonald's. And Newsweek says, well, the American public needs to know that the Secret Service was there and they closed down McDonald's and you had to be screened before you saw him and it wasn't
I saw
real.
this.
Now, who in the world thinks that they're going to have random strangers without being screened by Secret Service after 2 assassinations?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're up against, John.
Yeah. You're kidding. I thought he actually got the job there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
There's another point last
and then
night.
Tim Walz, by the way, Tim Walz says he disrespected McDonald's workers by being there. That's how out of touch they are. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, no, you are right on the money. There's another moment where CNN reports last night that McDonald's didn't approve the visit by President Trump, and AP says they did approve it. And by the way, if you read the statement, McDonald's did approve the request to let Donald Trump come there. They can't even get basic facts right. And then they literally think the American people are so stupid. Like, they don't understand that if a guy running for president is going to have a security detail, there's got to be some pre-organization of an event. But they think the American people actually are falling for that. I don't know how to describe the industry that I'm in anymore. It doesn't feel like reporting. It feels like a cast of fools almost every day that I'm in. It's terrible. Terrible.
And then they went after the poor franchise. Is it a franchise? Yeah.
It is a franchise. Yeah, it's a franchise. I guess the guy that owns
but they
them
went
owns a
after
whole
the
bunch of them.
franchisor and reported that he failed their last health inspection. You're going after the everyman that you claim you stand for.
Yeah, it's crazy. Amanda, I'm curious from your perspective. You're out in LA. I actually was shocked that the LA Times didn't endorse. I was literally shocked. I did not see that coming any way, shape, or form. What do you make of that, Amanda?
Well, trouble has been brewing at LA Times since earlier this year. For those who have been paying attention and keeping check marks on all the media organizations who are having to dump employees, LA Times was one of them. I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. They had to fire a bunch of their election staff, people who were actually covering the election in an election year, and they had to let them go. The LA Times, like many of these, old staunch gray lady type legacy media organizations, are failing. And I think that when your business model goes from journalism and objective reporting to stumping and being the propaganda arm for one party, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose credibility, and therefore you're going to lose funding, and you're going to lose advertisers, and it's a vicious cycle.
Right on the money.
But we have just the news, and that's the best part, because John and his reporting get to rise to the top.
Think about what we do every night, how lucky we are to give voice to all these everyday Americans. The reason we know so much about, and we were seeing this election developing in this way, is because Tara's out in the crowd talking to real people, not to the elitists in ivory towers in Washington. And that's what makes this network so unique and what it makes it so powerful. You can't trust the media's reporting anymore, so you got to go on the ground yourself. And REV's been on the ground every day. You haven't missed an event from Donald Trump or J.D. Vance since Labor Day. We're out there and we're talking to real people. And that's why we saw what's been developing the last few weeks ahead of so many people. Grant's been calling this for weeks. Yeah, because we have that ground intel. We know what's going on. Tara, I want to ask you a question because I've been thinking about this a lot when you take the next couple of weeks. We've got 2 weeks to Election Day. We've got the war in Ukraine and Russia that looks like a slog. And then we've got this very dynamic situation where Israel really is reducing by the day Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran's capabilities to commit future terror. This is one of the great victories in the war on terror in a long time, and it happened in spite of the Biden administration, who kept trying to stop Israel from doing it. Do you think the American people realize that Israel had more courage than America, and that's why we're going to have the benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you just said, John, they did this in spite. They're winning in spite of the United States. And they're showing the United States how to win wars. I mean, when you look at Afghanistan, when you look at Iraq, I don't think you can be a country and say, you know what, you're a country that I think we're going to take advice from. And Biden and Harris, every single victory that we've seen Israel do, whether it's taking out Sinwar, whether it's going into southern Lebanon, whether it's the pagers and attacking Hezbollah and Hamas, going into Rafah, those are all significant moves. And Biden and Harris came out and said, you can't do this, don't do this, it's going to be catastrophic. If you go into Rafah, you're going to commit genocide. The world is going to end if you go into Rafah. Well, where did they find Sinwar? In Rafah. Look at what happened with southern Lebanon with Hezbollah. You have the Lebanese people now that are really coming out and supporting what Israel is doing because they're liberating Lebanon. And so that's what the Biden and Harris administration, they are putting they're tying the hands of Israel. And they're saying there is a significant shift. When I was there several months ago, what I was told was that either two things, that Netanyahu, there was a shift, whether it was after Biden and Trump's debate, when they looked at that debate and they just knew that, you know, this is not an administration that they can listen to, or whether it was Gantz leaving the war cabinet, something shifted with Netanyahu, and he went ahead and decided to just go ahead and do what he needed to do to secure Israel and secure the people and allow for the residents in the north to be able to go back home. And thank God he has, because look at the victories, and he's fighting. He's the tip of the spear for the entire Western civilization.
Yeah. And John, I want to ask you, because this is a tricky situation for Kamala Harris. She's having an issue with Jewish Americans right now because of the treatment of the situation with Israel. But now even on the other side of the coin, you've got America Lead, the mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan. Is it Michigan? Yeah. Democrat mayor who came out in support of Donald Trump, because you have Arab Americans and Muslim Americans who recognize that whether Donald Trump is on the right side of the issue for them, they just want peace.
Yeah, they do. And listen, I think there's an old adage, I think an old Wisconsin senator said many years ago, that if you try to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to everybody. And I think that at the end of the day, that's been Kamala Harris. So she's tried to have it three ways, right? I'm for the Jewish people, but I told them don't attack Iran, don't attack Hamas. I'm for the Arab people, but, I've been supporting Israel. The mixed messaging is why I think for the first time in history, I can see one of our closest allies basically say, you know what? I don't care what America thinks anymore. I'm going it alone. And Grant, I want to ask you, this was what Tara just described is so precisely on. One of our closest allies basically told the United States, we're not going to listen to you anymore. That is historic, and it could have long-term consequences. I bet you there's other allies thinking, God, if Kamala Harris is in there, I'm not going to listen to her either. This was a watershed moment, not just for Israel. I think for a lot of allies thinking that maybe I don't have to listen to America anymore.
Yeah, I think quietly, John, that many of our allies were thinking, look, we don't have any support from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris right now, and they're kind of hung out there on their own. Now, they also know that when President Trump gets put back in office, that they're going to have to be accountable for chalking up some money, as we've seen President Trump do before when it comes to funding NATO. And I wish President Trump would go to the United Nations as well. I mean, it's draining New York City. It's draining our coffers there for literally an organization that wants to take away sovereignty from the United States of America. But our closest allies, and I would put Israel, it's not just our closest ally in the Middle East. Everybody loves to say that. I would say Israel is our closest ally. At least it was before October 7th, and really Joe Biden and Kamala Harris showed their true colors. But I'm not going to say if. When President Trump wins on November 5th, that all comes right back. Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump, they will be strong pillars of strength in that region. They will be strong together. The world becomes a much safer place with President Trump at the helm. If not just for his unpredictability, our enemies are not going to want to try to cross us anymore. That goes for terrorists. That goes for China. That goes for Iran. That goes for anybody that wants to test Joe Biden and knows they get away with it every time. So this can be brought back, but it depends on President Trump winning. If President Trump doesn't win, John, you're right. The consequences of this could be devastating. You could be looking at World War III. You could be looking at wars just sparking up across the globe, all because of the lack of leadership here in the United States. And if you think it's bad under Joe Biden, I think it's going to get only worse under Kamala Harris, because she's a true radical. Joe Biden just loves power. He'll do whatever anybody tells him. She's a true radical who loves power and does what anybody tells her.
You know, I was talking to a senior Israeli official a few days ago, and, you know, we all remember when those stickers showed up on the gas pumps. Remember when gas spiked really quick and Joe Biden had that smirk on his face and there was that little thing, I did that. Remember that? He said in Israel, that's what people see every time they look at a picture of October 7th, because they know that Joe Biden funded Iran, Iran funded Hamas, and Israelis paid with their lives by more than 1,000 and many more maimed, raped, kept hostage. And in their minds, that sticker belongs on all the atrocities that flowed on October 7th. And we sometimes forget that Joe Biden's building up of Iran made all of those extraordinary, heinous events occur in Israel. They haven't forgotten it. And I think that probably is part of what gave Bibi Netanyahu the courage to say, you know what, I'm not following this guy anymore. I'm going with what's in the best interest of the Israeli people. Really a remarkable moment when that official said that to me in an interview last week.
John,
Incredible.
Did you see Kamala Harris? She basically had one of those pro-Hamas loons come protesting her, calling about genocide in Gaza. And they got kicked out. And at the end, after he's kicked out, he says, what he said is real. Now, when has the United States ever said that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza? And Kamala Harris, who wants to be president, says what he said is real? That should have ramifications that ripple across the Middle East and beyond. That's outrageous that she says. And the only people committing genocide right now are these Hezbollah and Hamas terrorists, and it is on the Israeli people.
Yeah, a little bit of a different reaction to what they were saying as opposed to the people who said Jesus is Lord. Just a little bit of a change in treatment there. All right, everybody, we are in a pivotal election year. 2024 is a battle for the soul of America. And if you are fed up with compromise, it's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. With Patriot Mobile, you will get the same nationwide coverage as the major carriers without funding the left. Every call you make supports conservative causes and puts America first. And switching is easy with their 100% US-based customer service team. You keep your number, you keep your phone, or you can upgrade, and they're going to help you find the perfect plan. So go to patriotmobile.com/saveusa or call 972-PATRIOT now. Get a free month when you use the offer code SAVEUSA. That's patriotmobile.com/saveusa or call 972-PATRIOT. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back to North Carolina.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year. It's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
A Kamala Harris presidency will destroy our country and the polls are tight. Donald Trump is the only one who can stop her. Trump fell just 42,000 ballots shy of the official count in 2020. Turning Point PAC is on the ground right now in Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, deploying thousands of ballot chasers to make sure that never happens again. Support Trump and save America by donating to Turning Point PAC. Go to tprav.com to make a gift of any amount and receive a copy of my new book, Right Wing Revolution, for free. Join us in the battle to save America.
If you use a pen, the Pen Tool Pro is a must-have multi-function creative gadget, perfect for every workspace.
It has a ruler, level, screw bit, ballpoint pen, and a stylus for touchscreen devices.
5 functional tools, all in one convenient place. A must-have for any creator.
From concept to creation, the Pen Tool Pro is your versatile companion, simplifying your workflow, putting the focus on what truly matters, your creativity. Scan the code to order the Pen Tool.
Do you really trust her to run this country for the next 4 years? How have the last 4 years gone under him? Well, your tax dollars are being funneled overseas and to support illegal immigration. They've left our people behind, offering just $750 in aid as if that's enough. With political insanity that we're living through, supply chain shortages, natural disasters, and the looming threat of another pandemic, you need to prepare your family now. The Wellness Company offers 5 critical medical kits packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, amoxicillin, Z-Pak, and more. Each kit is backed by Dr. Peter McCullough. Ordering is simple. Just a few clicks and it's delivered to your door. Head to twc.health/voice and use code VOICE to save up to $60 off. That's twc.health/voice and use code VOICE to save up to $60 off plus free shipping right now.
And we want to give a very special thank you to the Wellness Company for sponsoring tonight's rally coverage out of North Carolina, a state where President Trump has spent a significant amount of time. And I want to talk about that with everyone who is here with me tonight. My great co-host, John Solomon, Grant Stinchfield, my colleague here at this network, as well as Tara Dahl. And Grant, I want to go straight to you about something because you and I have been texting offline our prognostications about what's going to happen in a few weeks. And we were talking about North Carolina a little bit, and I expressed to you how concerned I was about the GOTV efforts there and getting people out to the polls. And yesterday on my podcast, I had Jason Simmons, who now serves as the North Carolina GOP chair, and he assured me that they have done everything they possibly can. They have set up mobile voting centers. What are you hearing out of North Carolina as far as the accessibility to voting for those people?
Well, look, when you look at the early voting numbers and you look at them setting records there, that's got to be good news for President Trump. And when you look at the hardest hit areas of North Carolina from the hurricane, places like Asheville, that's got to actually hurt Kamala Harris. So we still set records when it's very hard to vote in some of these areas that are very, very blue areas. In the end, what I say is this has got to benefit President Trump. Now, I don't want to win because we benefited from some storm coming through. But in the end, to save America, I'll take it any way we could get it. And I don't want anyone to suffer by any means. But to me, it looks like I'm okay where North Carolina is. But that state, even without the storm, always concerns me. So I'm happy to hear the GOP chair said they're where they're supposed to be. But here's the thing. Have you heard one GOP chair in any state in the country say, no, we're not there yet? I haven't. And I haven't heard them say that since 2020. I've heard them say, we're working on it. I heard them say, we're getting there. But I've never heard them say, we're not there, because I think some of these states aren't there yet. And I hope North Carolina isn't one of them.
Yeah, Tara, and you're there on the ground. So I don't know about the proximity as far as Greensboro to the areas that have been affected, but are you hearing concerns from rally goers about this?
Yeah, it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So I did ask people in line here about the hurricane, about the hurricane and the impact, and they said they weren't impacted, but they said too it's the federal response. They know what has happened and the lack of federal resources. It was it was the volunteers, as we all know, that has stood up and stepped up to help the communities here. It was people coming in from outside. And so just talking to people here, yeah, they definitely are disgusted by the federal response. And I think the United States is too. And then when you overlay that with FEMA giving away taxpayer dollars to illegals, well, the hurricane victims are suffering. They're sleeping in tents right now. They're homeless, and it's 30-degree weather. And so, yeah, definitely it's going to impact people, and it's going to go directly to the hands of Harris and Biden. And the people that I talk to definitely have felt that and see that. And I think it just has been felt throughout the whole United States, though. They see what has happened here in this state.
Yeah. John, I know you've got to head out, but I want to give you a chance to tease that Georgia story that you're going to be putting out.
Yeah, I know Grant and Tara are going to be shocked by this. 20 non-citizens have made it through all the protections that even Georgia put in place and got onto the voter rolls. They were just taken off. We're going to break this story. There was a last-minute audit. And the way they caught these people, this is really interesting. They went to the courts and found out how many people said, I can't do jury duty because I'm a foreigner, I'm a non-citizen, I can't serve on a jury. They found those people and caught them cheating, trying to get on the rolls. When people say we got the system licked, which is the Democrats' line, there's nothing to see here, it's wrong again. By the way, Georgia kicked off 1,600 just a year ago. They found these 20 through some extraordinary means. Good work for Georgia. They got these people before they could vote. We're going to tell the whole story tonight. We've got the internal members from the Secretary of State's office. It's going to be a big story, something we're going to do. And I want to weigh in on one other thing, because I think Grant and Tara hit something very important. And Amanda, you started it, which was brilliant. The election in 2020 was Joe Biden telling America, big government will serve you in a big way. We'll do a good job. And then East Palestine happened, and they didn't do a good job there. Then the hurricanes happened. They didn't do a good job there. And they see that Joe Biden seems more interested in protecting the Ukrainian border than the American border. And this election is, we got rooked. Big government actually failed in a big way, whether it's the hurricanes in North Carolina and that alley all the way down, or East Palestine, or the big government in FEMA. And I do think that Grant is right, that this is going to have an effect. There may be some people that weren't going to vote. And then this storm said, you know what? I'm so darn mad. I'm voting for Donald Trump because he came here and Joe Biden abandoned me. I think it's going to be a dynamic just like that.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
John, I know
I speak for everyone. Oh, Grant, go ahead.
I just wanted to tell John one thing before he goes. I know he's got to get out of here. I saw this report in Center Square. They got internal documents from FEMA. They may have stolen the story from Just the News, because this seems like something you would do, John.
They're great people at the Center Square. They're good folks.
3 bold, ambitious goals for FEMA. Goal number 1, you would think it would be like respond to disasters. Goal
Grant,
number 1.
I'm gonna have to dip in here because President Trump, it sounds like, has taken the stage. Text him offline. All right, everybody, we're going to dip into this Greensboro, North Carolina rally for President Trump. He must have the same schedule as John Solomon. All right, everybody, tune in.
Still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome. Thank you. I will turn the volume back up as soon as President Trump starts speaking. Do not adjust your volume. Thank you.
From sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
Wow. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, this is a nice crowd. Thank you. Well, a very special hello to Greensboro. Hello, Greensboro. And another hello to North Carolina, because I've been at North Carolina a lot lately, you probably see. I followed that horrible storm, and then I came back, and we spent a lot of time here yesterday, met some incredible people. What they've done is unbelievable. They haven't had much help from our government in Washington, I can tell you that. But come January 20th, when you take office, you're gonna be seeing a lot of me. We're gonna fix it up and make it better than ever. And I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, and that's what you are. And I'd like to begin by asking a question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I don't think so. So I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back, as your president, the American dream. We're going to bring it back. Our country is being crippled and destroyed by Kamala Harris. But it does not have to be this way. It won't be this way for long, hopefully, what we put up with the two of them. What we put up with the two of them, with your support on November 5th, America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. This election is a choice between whether we will have 4 more years of incompetence, failure, and disaster, or whether we'll begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. We'll do something that nobody will even believe. After all of the catastrophes that she has caused, Kamala, she can't say one thing. Not one thing that she'd do differently. They said, would you do anything differently? Well, I can't really think of anything, right? No, she's terrible. We need smart people now. It's time for smart people, not time for these people. So I'm asking you to be excited about the future of our country again, and this will be America's new golden age. We're going to turn it around so fast your head will spin. We're going to stop all of this craziness. Every problem facing us can be solved, but now the fate of our nation is in your hands. In North Carolina, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had enough. You can't take it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. You're the worst vice president in the history of our country. And you're aligned with the worst president in the history of our country, who, by the way, likes me more than he likes her, but I won't say that. Kamala, you're fired. Get out, Kamala. Get out. Get out. No, I think she probably does. I think he likes me slightly more. He hates me, you know? But when you think of what happened to him, think about it. He was doing okay, and then he had sort of a bad debate, and his numbers went down a little bit, and that's to be expected. And then they went to him, and they really just took the presidency away from him. And he's got a lot of anger in his heart. He's got a lot of hatred in his heart. And much of it goes to her because she was the first one out. She failed. She was 22 people were going for the Democrat nomination, right? And she was the first one. Think of it. She was the first one out. And now they're a threat to democracy, as they like to say. They're a threat to democracy. But Nobody would have thought that was possible, and now she's cratering in the polls. You know, you see it, because they're learning who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. Yesterday, I was here in North Carolina, outside Asheville, where I witnessed the terrible devastation of Hurricane Helene. To every family who has lost a loved one or a home, or they lost so much, our hearts are with you, and we are praying for you. The polls are open for early voting in North Carolina, and every day from now till November 2nd, and then on November 5th. Oh. You know, if you think about it, that has a chance to be the biggest day in American history. That could be a very exciting day. It's going to be the most important election in American history. I really believe it, because our country has lost its way. We are a failing nation. I don't like saying that, but we are indeed a failing nation. What a nice crowd this is. Wow. A lot of people. No, we don't like saying it, but it's... Thank you. Great. What people? What people? We're going to take care of you. We're going to work together. You know, we won twice here. And we won twice everywhere, if you want to really know. We won twice everywhere. Too big to rig. We got to make it too big to rig. Everybody get out. But we're going to make it too big to rig. But if you're displaced due to the storm, you do not have to return to your home county to vote. You can request a ballot to your temporary housing location and go to TrumpVote24.com/NC for more details. You know what? The amazing thing, and the fake news is picking it up. That's a lot of fake news tonight. That's a lot. And up there, I would say you have about 9% of decent people. It's like about 9%. It's unbelievable. Boy, it would be nice. You know what? If we had an honest press, a press that wrote the truth, we would be so much further along as a country. But that's a big group back there. You know where Kamala is today? They don't want to tell you. No. You don't know where she is? You know where she is? She's sleeping. She took a day off. She's got no energy at all. Her speeches last for about 15 minutes. Peter knows that, my Peter. Her speeches last for about 15, 20 minutes. She's out of there. And right now, so think of this. We have 14 days to the most important election in the history of our country. It's actually only important for us. It's important. For them, I don't think it's that important. I really don't think it's that important. But you know what she did? She took a day off. How do you take a day off? 14 days, you don't take days off, right? I've gone 52 days now. I got 14 more. We don't take days off. We got to win this thing. If we don't win it, our country's in big trouble. Our country's in big trouble. No, I heard it today, and she's taking another day off tomorrow, they say. What the hell? Maybe she knows something that we don't know. You think she knows some kind of result that we don't know about? Maybe she knows something. I doubt it. No, she's bad news. With your help, 14 days from now, we're going to win North Carolina. We're going to defeat Kamala Harris. And we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it so great, right? This state was once the beating heart of American manufacturing. You know that. You know what happened. But year after year, globalist after globalist, radical left politician after radical left politician, Kamala Harris and her party sold you out, allowed your jobs to be plundered and stolen from you by other countries. After NAFTA and China's entry into the World Trade Organization, some of the worst things that ever happened to this country, North Carolina, lost over 300,000 manufacturing jobs, like taking candy from a baby, including 60% of its furniture manufacturing jobs. You know, I used to come here to buy furniture. I'd come here. The artists you had, they were artisans. They were incredible. I'd like to see a new handle on the chair, and you'd have a guy, oh, yes, sir, ding, 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 ding. I mean, the most incredible talent, but stupid politicians took that away from you. Really stupid, horrible politicians. They took it away. They took it away. It went to China and lots of other places. And you heard, when I bought some furniture, the chairs would break. People would sit in the damn chairs, they'd break. I end up getting sued all the time. I like North Carolina much better, if that's okay. Under Kamala, the United States lost 50,000 manufacturing jobs just this year alone. I don't even mention Biden anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Who do you tell? Who's running this place? You know, we're close to a nuclear war, and we don't know who the hell's running our country. Is it him? He goes, Obama's running it. Obama. That's another beauty, Obama. He did great, didn't he? He did great. If you like a divided country, he was fabulous, Obama. He was a real beauty. But under the Trump administration, we're going to take back what's ours. We're going to take it back. We're going to bring it all back. We're going to end the looting, ransacking, raping, and pillaging of North Carolina and our country, our whole country, because you're one state, but this has happened to many states. Look at what's happened in Michigan with the automobiles. I mean, they were the capital of the world for automobiles. Now they're really just hanging by a thread. And because of me, I just stopped the largest plant anywhere in the world being built in Mexico, owned by China. They were going to make cars. And they were going to, you know this story, came a year ago, they announced the largest plant in the world. They were going to make cars, sell them into the United States, and destroy Detroit, Michigan, and all of Michigan. They were going to make more cars in that one plant than all of Michigan makes as a whole. And I said, you're not going to do it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to run for president, and I'm going to put tariffs on that damn plant, and you're not going to do it. And I just heard last week they've abandoned the plant because of Trump. Because they think we're going to get elected. And they say, if Trump gets elected, we're going to lose our ass and we're not going to do it. So they decided they're not going to build the plant. But you know what? If she gets in, they'll start the plant like your head will spin. And they'll be selling hundreds of thousands, millions of cars into our country with that big monstrous plant. There were a number of plants. They were all stopped, every one of them, because they think I'm going to come in, impose 100, maybe 200, do whatever's necessary. They're not going to have one car come into our country and destroy Michigan and South Carolina and Tennessee. And a little bit of North Carolina, but you know, South Carolina has been very big with that. But we're not going to let them destroy our country, our states that do the auto things. You do a little bit of it, and sometimes a lot, depending on your mood. You have a lot of things in the state. You cover a lot of territory. Peter, they cover a lot of territory in the state. But the one that I like best, I loved, and I really mean it, I loved what you did for furniture. Isn't that terrible? I had such a heart for furniture here. It's hard to come back. It's hard to come back, but we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring all of it back, more than you ever had before. We're going to bring it all back. We're going to bring it all back. And if she comes, I'll tell you what, if she becomes president of this country is finished. This country is finished. And I don't like to be that way. And I wasn't that way. Even with crooked Hillary, I wasn't talking that way. This woman is a radical left lunatic who has no right even running. She doesn't deserve to be able to run. She came in last in the primary. Now she's running because they want to be politically correct. I'm not going to let this happen. Starting in January, we will give our companies the lowest taxes. the lowest energy cost, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market in the planet. But you know, it will not. If we keep going like this, we're not going to have the best market anymore. We're going to be like Venezuela on steroids, okay? That's what we're going to be. And I used to say that, and if I don't get elected, that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up in a 1929-style depression. If you look at what her policies are, she has no idea about business. She has no idea. Frankly, she has no idea about anything. She destroyed San Francisco, which was really the best city, I think maybe the best city in the country. She destroyed it. She helped destroy California, along with Gavin Newsom, who was one of the worst governors in the history of our country. But only if they make their products here, they're going to get these benefits. Only if they make their products here in America and they hire American workers to do the job. It's very simple. And if these companies don't make their products here, then they will pay a quite stiff tariff, nice tariff. We're taking a lot. You know how much China paid us during my time? Hundreds of billions of dollars. No other president got them to pay not 10 cents. Go through all these great presidents. Oh, they were so great. Not 10 cents. China didn't pay 10 cents, and they were ripping us left and right. That's why I got into politics, if you want to call it that. I don't feel I'm a politician, but what the hell, call me whatever you want. But it really was trade. And you know what? It morphed from trade, and now I say, most important thing to me, trade. Always trade with me. We're gonna bring jobs back like nobody's ever seen. But the border, it's so horrible what they're doing to us on the border. To me, you know, if you look at the polls, it's the economy, and it's inflation, and then it's the border. I think the border is the biggest. Thank you. Thank you. So I think the border has become, to me, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, where we're allowing criminals to come in, hundreds of thousands of criminals to pour into our country. They come from jails. They come from places unknown, from countries we never even heard of. 181 countries were represented as of last night. Think of it, 180. To me, number one is our border. We don't want murderers. We don't want people from mental institutions coming in. We don't want people coming in who are terrorists. And I think it's number one. And then number two would be economy. And number three is inflation, or you could put them together, do it any way you want. But I think that the border is the biggest threat to this country. Other than, of course, some horrible, horrible radical left lunatic politicians that we have. That's a pretty big threat to our country also. But I will never apologize for defending America. I will protect our workers. I will protect our jobs. I will protect our borders. I will protect our families, and I will protect the birthright of our children to live in the richest and most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And we'll have it back there very soon. We're going to have it back there very soon. With 4 more years of Kamala Harris, North Carolina will be an economic wasteland. That's what's going to happen. The rest of your companies are going to move out. Everybody knows that. The smart people know. She's the only one that doesn't know it. Low IQ. She's a low IQ individual. And we've had that for 4 years. We don't need another 4. No country could take that. Can you imagine what President Xi, I got to know him very well. He's a fierce individual. The press, the fake news hates when I say that he's a brilliant man. He runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. If I say he's a brilliant man, they say, he called him a okay, he's not a smart man at all. These people are crazy back there, I'm telling you. Am I allowed to say he's smart? Is he smart? He's a smart man. He's a fierce man. I get along with him very well. Putin, these are people that are tough people. Kim Jong-un, North Korea, nuclear weapons all over the place. I said, you ever do anything else? Go to a game, do something. He loves producing nuclear weapons. That's what he likes producing. And he's got a lot of them. And he has no respect for our leadership now. And he didn't respect Obama. He thought Obama was a real jerk. A real jerk. And I think he's a real jerk because I've watched him campaign over the last couple of days. I watched him campaign. What a divider he is, right? What a divider he is. He'd divide this country. He couldn't care less. Him and his little group of people. He was terrible. But I've watched what he's done. He's trying to campaign because she's incapable of campaigning. So they send him in to try. He's not going to do it. He also, you know who he helped? He helped Hillary Clinton. How did that work out? He came out for Hillary. So they sent out the same thing. But the fake news, they don't talk about that. They said, oh, they're bringing out Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, Barack, remember Rush? Barack Hussein Obama. Rush Limbaugh, we miss him, don't we? Don't we miss him, Peter? They're bringing out Obama. I say, oh, they did that with Hillary Clinton. Good, I'm glad they're bringing him out. The reason they're bringing him out, because he doesn't even want to do it. I think he's exhausted. I watched him talking. I think the guy's exhausted. And I never say a guy's looking old, but he's looking a little bit older, isn't he? You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. But he's exhausted. He's exhausted. But you know, the reason they bring him out, and other people, they're bringing out all these other people. You know, nobody goes to their rallies. Nobody goes there. So you know what they do? They bring in so-called stars that I've never even heard of. You know, these are not stars to me. These are not stars to me. But they bring out some people. And what happens is the star comes in, they get a little bit of a crowd. They don't get crowds like this, and they have guitars. I don't, okay? I got nothing up here. And they bring them out, and they get an audience. They perform for a couple of minutes, and then they leave, and then the candidate gets up. There's nobody in the room. They got to do it the other way around, you know? Let her speak first. But they bring him out because they need help, because she cannot talk for more than 15 minutes. And when the teleprompter goes out, remember, 32 days, 32. I said, what the hell is going on with her? I was watching. You always want to watch your opponent, right? And I was watching her, and she started doing that 32. She was just about gone, and then that sucker snapped back on. They go out. It's a dangerous business. You know, if you're a teleprompter reader, it can be dangerous, because no matter how good these guys are, I have a great guy, but about 5% of the time you lose a teleprompter. Sometimes it breaks down, it snaps, we call it a snapback. You know, it's gone, and now you're on your way, and then you go ping, and it's back. But no matter how good they are, you lose it 5% of the time, and I thought she lost it. And I just wanted to see a little bit longer. I just wanted to see, because she was over. But if you'd like to go into politics, you got to be able to make a speech without reading a teleprompter. Because if you need a teleprompter like her, you're in trouble. We got two of them, Biden and her. How about Biden? She'd make us, hello. And then he could never find, I don't want to hit him too hard anymore, though, because, you know, I really want to keep it this way where he likes me better than her, because I think it's... No, but think of it. They stole the presidency of the United States. They took it. I don't want to use the word coup. You know, nobody knows what the hell that means. Nobody... It was a coup, but nobody knows. It's simpler. They stole the presidency. They walked in, they said, you're getting out. I mean, he didn't have to do that. And then they say, he was so brave in getting out. He was so brave. It was so wonderful that he got out. He's a great American hero. They threw him out. They took him out. Crazy Nancy Pelosi. She's crazy. She did a nut job, by the way. And Schumer, I was with Schumer the other night at the big Catholic dinner. How did I do at that dinner? Good, huh? The Al Smith dinner, big dinner, 77 years. Almost without fail, every candidate goes to that out of respect to Catholics. And she said she's not going. It never happens. It hadn't happened in decades. And the last person, we know who that was. The last person lost, he lost everything but one state. You know what state it was? Minnesota, the home of the stupidest man I've ever seen run for office. Is there something wrong with that guy? He's always bouncing. He's going with his heart. Yeah. I never got that. But there's something wrong with that guy, I'm telling you. And you know, that should enter in. And I have somebody the exact opposite, a brilliant guy, J.D. Vance, who's really very solid. Very solid. Kamala's inflation has already cost the typical family over $30,000 on higher prices, and now she wants to raise the typical family's taxes by nearly $3,000 a year. Take a look at this.
Kamala Harris is going to significantly raise taxes. Taxes are going to have to go up? Kamala's plan will raise families' taxes by nearly $2,600 a year. Under Kamala, prices have already soared. Now she'd make it worse with even higher taxes. Taxes are going to have to go up? President Trump will cut taxes again. No taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security. Give this message.
Thank you. Remember when I said no taxes on tips, and then like a month later she goes, we will have no taxes on tips. Oh, and the place was booing her. They said, a little bit late. Anyway, and you never heard it. I haven't even heard her say it again after that, because that just shows you the kind of dedication they have to their statements. No, she's the taxing queen. And she's also demanding a shocking 33% tax hike on all domestic production, along with the largest capital gains tax hike in history. This is going to be the largest tax anybody's ever had to pay. And every business is going to leave our country and go to another country. They don't have to stay here. They have a lot of opportunity. It used to be you'd go to a different state. Now they go to a different country. They'll go to Asia. They'll go to Europe. Go to different countries, and you've had that, and all you're doing is forcing them out, and with them goes the jobs and the money. By contrast, I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses and do just as you saw, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits. I will make, here's something that I think is going to be great. Think of this. And I just made a decision to do it a little bit differently, because I'm only going to do it if they build that particular product, namely an automobile, in the United States. Listen to this. I will make interest on car loans fully tax deductible, because affording a car is essential to restoring the American dream. So I had calls from the biggest people in Wall Street. Where did you come up with these ideas? The no tax on tips? Who gave that to you? Actually, it was a waitress at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. I didn't pay a consultant $5 million to come up with the idea. A waitress said, it's terrible the way they're treating us with tips. And a lot of them, you know, I mean, a lot of people don't report those tips anyway, really, I guess. It's a kind of a weird kind of a thing. How do you tax it? Somebody puts $5 in their pocket, you know, let's see. But she gave me the idea. But they said, how did you come up with this thing on deductibility of interest on automobiles? I said, it was just an idea I had, but I had a better idea, because here's what I'm doing. I want it to benefit, I don't want it to benefit other countries. I want it to benefit us. So its deductibility of interest is great, but only if the car is manufactured in the United States. Is that a great idea? Why the hell would we give them taxes if they manufacture the car in China or Japan or lots of other places that stole our business over the years? Mexico is a very big threat. I'm telling you, it's a big threat. So we're doing that now, and I think that's going to be great for Detroit. And we're leading in Michigan, by the way, by good margin because of the because of the brilliant mandate that next week you're going to be forced to drive all electric. Everybody's going to have an electric car. They don't go far. They cost too much. And by the way, they're great. You know what? They're great. And Elon makes the best of them as far as I'm concerned. But, and he'll be the first to admit, it's a certain market, and it's a certain market for certain things, but you have to have gasoline powered. Here we have more gasoline, we have more oil and gas, we have more liquid gold than anybody in the world. And we're trying to go all electric. So we want that. We want hybrids. We don't want hydrogen cars. We don't want hydrogen. Would anybody like a hydrogen car? You know what a hydrogen car? It's a great car. It's a wonderful car, except if it happens to explode, then you are unrecognizable. They said they have it down. They don't think more than 10 or 20 will explode a year. But if it does, you're gonzo. So we told them, let's not spend a lot of money on that. That's one of those things, no matter how good it is, you don't want it. But other than that, they said it works quite well. On day one of the Trump administration, I will terminate Kamala's insane electric vehicle mandate, and we will end the Green New scam once and for all. You know, the Green New scam is, you know whose idea that was, right? AOC, young girl, very nice person. She never even studied the environment in college, average student. At best. She was an average student. She walked in one day, she said, we're going to all be dead in 12 years because the oceans are rising. Well, it's been more than 12 years. What's going on? No, we have a much bigger threat. We have a threat called nuclear weapons and having stupid people running our country. And if you talk about global warming, that's the real global warming, not this nonsense of the ocean's going to rise over the next 400 years by 1/8 of an inch and we're going to be wiped out. No, we have a threat right now. We better get smart because we're very close to World War III. If you take a look at what's going on, we're very close. So we have a couple of different areas, but we'll have more than that. And you can look at the side, look at the teams. They're already being divided up. You see what's going on with Iran? And Russia and China, and now other countries are adding into that group, North Korea. No. We have very stupid people letting this happen. That should have never happened. Now they want to attack our dollar. They want to take our dollar away from us. They want to take our dollar and not have that be the standard any longer. That would be like losing a world war. Then we would be indeed third world status. And if I'm elected, they're not doing that. I guarantee you that. No chance. Just like Russia would have never attacked Ukraine, zero. By the way, zero. Even a Democrat congressman was on television, and many Democrats are saying that. And by the way, for 4 years they didn't. So, you know, it's not like, oh, gee, they won't. For 4 years they didn't. I think what happened is when Putin saw how weak we were, how pathetic we were, with the stupid Milley and these generals that aren't even generals as far as I was concerned. What a stupid group of people they were. Mattis, Milley, you know, the real ones, the ones that I used to defeat ISIS. We defeated ISIS. They were the real generals. They were the real generals. They weren't the television generals. They weren't the dumb ones. They were the ones that were warriors. But we'll quickly become energy independent, and we will frack, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill. And I will cut, in 12 months from January 20th, that's the day we take office, I will cut your energy prices by 50%, within 1 year. And we can do it. No other country can say, very few countries can say it, but no other country can say that. We have more liquid gold. We're going to drill. Your prices are going to come down. Then everything else is going to start coming down, too, because you're paying too much. You know what people tell me mostly? Groceries. The simple word groceries. I say, what do you mean? The overall effect of bacon and lettuce and all of this stuff is the biggest, the worst we've ever had. We've never had anything like it. How about interest rates? When I was president, think of this, when I was president, interest was 2.2%. Now it's 10%, and you can't get any money, so it's much higher than 10%. And I have really good news because I keep hearing people say $2.50, $2.25 a gallon. So the other day I'm looking at some things and some statistics. So we had $1.84 a gallon. That was the real price that you had, $1.84. Compared to now, it's about $4, but it was up to $5. In California, it was $7 and $8. We were at 184, and everybody was happy. It was nice to drive to Washington, D.C., but the problem with Washington, D.C., is too dangerous. We're going to clean that city up, and we're going to make it greater. We're going to make it safe so you can go down, and you can see the Washington Monument. You can go see Honest Abe, and you can see Thomas Jefferson. They wanted to rip that down. Remember, they wanted to rip down the Thomas Jefferson? And I said, that's not going to happen. You remember I passed that law, the old law that was, they came into town, they wanted to rip down our statues. And I said, well, do they have a point? You know, a couple of them were a little rough, then I said, well, now I heard they want to rip down Honest Abe Lincoln. Now you're getting a little bit nasty. And I went out, and we were tough. I said, give me that law. I want to sign it immediately. We took it. It was an old law from early 1900s. And it basically said that if you so much as look at or touch any monument anywhere in the country, federal monument, anywhere in the country, you get immediately 10 years in jail with no early getting out stuff. And I signed it with a news conference. Remember, I said, anybody that wants to play games with me, you can play games, but it's not going to work out well. And we had a lot of people in Washington. They were having a lot of fun thinking about which statue they're going to take down. And as soon as I signed it, I watched the backs of those people. I don't want to use the word asses. I watched the backs of those people leaving town. They all left town very nicely. We had no problem. But just recently, a month ago, they were in Washington, and they're spray painting beautiful limestone lions and doing tremendous damage, fighting with the police. And by the way, nothing happened to those people. You know, when you spray paint over limestone, you'll see it in 100 years from now, because limestone's a very porous. I was really good at real estate and building. Limestone's very porous stone. And that stuff goes right into that. You can't get it out unless you want to do it with a chisel, and that's not going to work. And you're going to see that in 100 years from now. And it's very, very sad. And nothing happened to those people, nothing. I watched it very closely, and they did great destruction, and they had fistfights with our cops, right? They had fistfights. They were rolling in the grass and fighting our police. Nothing happened to them. Under Kamala's economy, millions of Americans are suffering because of inflation. They're losing their jobs. You can't afford housing, groceries, or a car. And yet Kamala is importing millions of illegals across our borders and giving them taxpayer benefits at your expense, while taking the jobs from African Americans and from Hispanic Americans at levels that we have not seen. You're going to see reports coming out very soon. They're trying to hold it until after the election. Hopefully it won't matter, because we're going to win by so much. But let them give you the reports of what's happening to our African-American population, our Hispanic population. They are taking the jobs of our African-Americans and Hispanic Americans, and it's tremendous numbers. And they're going to release these numbers sometime after the election, and everyone's going to be upset, and nothing they can do. You're going to have to wait 4 more years. And I'm not sure we can wait 4 more years, because I don't know that we'll have a country in 4 more years. So you ought to start looking at that, to the fake news media. Show them what's happening to the black population and to the Hispanic population with these people that are coming into our country illegally. You are witnessing the economic oppression of Americans to reward and enrich illegal aliens. It's just like, they come into hotels and they stay in hotels, in luxury hotels, paid for by the government, and they walk past our veterans who are sleeping on the street right in front of that hotel. But that stops 2 weeks from tonight. It all stops. For 4 straight years, Kamala Harris has imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo. Not just South America, this is all over the world. We're the dumping ground for the whole world to put their criminals into. And she has resettled them into your communities to prey upon innocent Americans, and that's what they're doing. You just take a look at what's going on in Colorado. Take a look at what's going on there. They're taking over. They're in the real estate business like I am. The only difference is I go out and borrow nice money from a bank. They do it with guns. You see what's going on in Aurora? But it's not just Aurora. It's hundreds of communities. They don't want to talk about it because they don't want to destroy the reputation of the community, and they better start talking about it because they won't have a community. When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. It's going to begin.
Are you from yesterday? Is that you? Yesterday? Yes.
One of the deadliest and most vicious migrant gang that Kamala has imported into our country. She's let them just come in. Remember, she's a stupid person. Open borders. Open borders. As soon as I saw it, I said, well, wait a minute. I know the world. I know many of the leaders of the world, other than the ones that were changed, not that many. I know them. They're smart. They're streetwise, very streetwise people. I said, wait a minute, they're going to let all their prisoners out into our country. When you have open borders, there's no check-in, there's no vetting. And very importantly, Border Patrol, they're phenomenal. They endorsed me last week with the strongest endorsement that you've ever seen. Unanimous. And in the endorsement, they said she is so bad, there's never been anybody bad. That by itself should cause her. Thousands of people voted for me, unanimous endorsement of the Border Patrol because we had the safest border. Bring down my favorite chart. I love this chart. I sleep with this chart. I kiss this chart every night. I love it. I love this chart. Isn't that a beautiful? Every night I roll it up and I kiss it because I wouldn't be here right now without that chart. I look to my right, bing. I said, what the hell happened? But look at that arrow on the bottom. That's when I left office. That's the day I left office right there. That's the lowest we've ever had. This was done by Border Patrol, by the way. And look what happened after I left. There was an explosion, like one of Elon's rocket ships. Look at that. How good is Elon, by the way? Is he good? You know, here's a guy. You talk about he is so smart. We're inside, beautiful place, beautiful arena, packed, nice, probably 71 degrees. We finally have air conditioning. Some of these things don't have air conditioning. It's brutal. Congratulations to the people who own this place, whoever the hell owns it. We appreciate the air conditioning. But it's like 71 degrees. It's beautiful. Elon is right now in Pennsylvania politicking because he thinks this is the most important election in history, and he says we won't have a country. How cool is that? And he's registering voters. He's an amazing guy. How cool was the rocket ship that landed the other day, right? I never saw it. I told this guy, I don't want to, if you heard it, just turn off your ears for a second. I'm talking to a very important guy, and I have the no sound on the television muted. And I'm looking at the television, talking to this guy. Very important, but quite boring, to be honest with you. I hope he doesn't watch me say this, because he'll be able to figure out who it is. But anyway, I said, wait a minute, would you hold on, please, just for a second? Because I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing this 20-story, huge tube pouring down and fire's pouring out of it. And it used to be white, but the heat is thousands of degrees coming down. They say thousands and thousands. So It's been beat up in that trip down. And I see this massive tube is coming down and the fire's burning and it's exploding all over the place. I said, oh my, this is terrible. It's going to crash. What the hell is it? I wasn't even sure. Maybe it was a movie. But I'm looking, it's the news. And I see it, and then all of a sudden, it's going to hit the gantry, and boom, a flame comes out of the left and pushes it over like it was nothing. I say, what the hell? And then, these two giant arms, boom, they envelop it like a beautiful, I won't say it. I get myself into too much trouble. When I say that stuff, it's so great. I'd like to, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to be politically correct if you don't mind. You know what Elon says? Like two giant chopsticks. See, wouldn't I be better off if I said that? Wouldn't that, Mr. Wall? This guy is the greatest guy. Stand up. I love this guy. Comes to so many of us. And he's a very successful guy, but he likes these rallies. He's had a lot of them. We have the ladies from North Carolina here, too. Would you stand up? I call them the beautiful ladies from North Carolina, and you're not allowed to call ladies beautiful anymore. It's the end of your political career. If you say, aren't they beautiful, that's the end of your political career, but who cares? You are beautiful. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. They've come to, what number is this, like 230 or 240 or something? And they're happily married, because I met their husbands. Their husbands are really nice. I don't know how the hell they put up with this stuff. But at least here we're in North Carolina. How long a trip was this? Pretty short, right? Well, that's a long time, 2.5 hours. That's like short compared to Texas, California. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. It's always nice to see them. They're always so brightly dressed. They got plenty of cash, you know. They're so brightly and beautifully dressed all the time and coiffed. They're beautifully coiffed. Thank you very much. Great honor. Thank you. And we have our front row jacks. We have our front row Jacks and Joes. Thank you very much. What happened? You're not in the front row. Whoa. These must be very powerful people in the front. Look at these people. Who are these people? They kept the wall back there. Wow. We got to figure this out. That young man must be a very powerful guy. But we appreciate it. We've had a lot of rallies, and we're going to have our biggest of all at Madison Square Garden. We're going to make a play for New York. Hasn't been one in many, many decades, but with what's going on in New York between the illegal migrants and the crime they're causing and hurting people so badly and all of the problems in New York, we're going to give it a hell of a shot. So we took Madison Square Garden. We filled it up. Think of this, sold out in 3 hours. Done. Can you imagine? If a normal politician, and I don't say this in any way, just say if a politician, like take our best politician, after me, take our best politician. If you had 250, 300 people, that would, you'd have 300 people in a ballroom or something. Ronald Reagan would have 350 people, 400 people. We sell out these things, 25,000 people at Madison Square Garden because we use the floor, right? The basketball. So we have the whole thing, holds 18 or 19,000. We have the floor. And it's sold out in 3 hours. So that's a great honor. But we're going to do a big one in the Atlanta arena. We're trying to sign the Philadelphia arena. We had tremendous success in Long Island, where the ice hockey team plays, the Islanders, and we could have sold that thing out 4 times. It was incredible. So we're doing them, and we're sort of, it's sad because we're sort of wrapping it up. You know that, right? We've been doing this now for a long time. We had 2 unbelievable elections. We had 2. But we are. I didn't even think of it. I was being interviewed by a very good person today, actually, and that person said, when you did Madison Square Garden, it's in a week, they said, is that sort of wrapping it all up, right? And I said, I never thought of it that way, but I guess you could. It's sort of wrapping. We have a few days left after that, but we sort of are. When you think we've been doing it from 2015, and now we're where we are. So we're, talking about 9 years, almost 10 years by the time we do it. And there's something, and think of what we've done. This is the greatest movement in political history. I mean, there's never been anything like that. Right? The greatest movement in political history. And I know, oh, look, there's Uncle Sam back there. Look at that guy. He shook my hand. This guy's got the hardest handshake. My hand is still recovering from his handshake. Uncle Sam, how are you? And I have no idea who he is, I promise you. Somebody says, oh, do you pay these people? I don't pay them. I don't pay the wall. I don't pay Uncle Sam. But they're incredible patriots. And you know what? They're very smart people. They're incredible people. But this is like a football game to some. You know, they come in, these guys, they're accountants. They head accounting firms, law firms, and they got the name of some football player in the back. I don't know if I could do that. Well, maybe Lawrence Taylor. He's my friend. I'll come in with a Lawrence Taylor. These are all guys. We have a lot of endorsements from athletes, that I can tell you. But thank you, Uncle Sam. But you know, it's sort of interesting. I never thought of it. It's sort of we're wrapping it up. We're wrapping up something that has been incredible. There's never been anything like this. The rallies, the size of them, the enthusiasm, and we have more enthusiasm now than we did for 2016 or 2020. But we really started in 2015. You know, about a year before, but a little less than a year before. We started in 2015, and it's been really amazing. It's been great. It's been great to be with you, and now we want to close it out with a beautiful bang, and we want to straighten out the country, and we're going to thank you, darling. I pray for you too. Thank you. Yeah. But it's been like a movement of love, you know, and it's like, you know, when we first started, there used to be like some fights, and there were problems where you have not much, but we had some. It's been, and I don't want to jinx it by saying, but it's been like love. It's been like amazing. It is, and you know what? The people back there, when I say things, if I'm a little bit off, they'll go headlines. And I don't mean to be a little bit off, but this is the single greatest political movement in the history of our country. There's never been anything like that. And if it wasn't, if it were just slightly behind some other movement that nobody could even come close to talking about, they would have headlines. I have to be very careful when I say things. But he said that, and he said, is this wrapping it up? And I never thought of it. I didn't think of it that way. We're in the heart of battle, and we have to win our country. And then we're going to have 4 great years, and that's a different kind of a battle. But for what we're doing, for the campaigning, this will be, we're pretty much, we're 14 days from sort of wrapping it up. And we're going to have different kinds of get-togethers, and hopefully it's going to be get-togethers of success. We're going to base it on success. We're going to have great success with this country. We're going to bring back our businesses. We're going to stop crime in the streets. We're going to close up our borders. We're going to let people come in to our country. We need people to take all these jobs we're going to be creating a lot of jobs just by the use of very smart use of tariffs, taxes, and incentives. Just like I told you, just come up with one. And literally, I did it with a friend of mine who's a great business person. I said, what do you think of the idea? Like the idea of the deduction for a car, interest deduction for a car. But then I said, but to get it, you have to build the car in the United States. Who would think of that? You know, it sounds simple, like the paperclip. It's very simple. Somebody came up 129 years ago or something. They came up with the paperclip. Then other people looked at it and they said, how the hell come? Why didn't I think of this idea? And now you'll have everybody come out and say, we're going to deduct interest. But you know what? It doesn't have the same ring. No, that's a big deal. We're going to make so many cars in Detroit with that. That's going to be so big. But I said, wait a minute, if I do this, what are we going to do? Make more cars in China? You know, China, I put a tariff on Chinese, 27.5%. And because of that, they're not flooding our country. They're destroying Europe. They're just flooding Europe with cars. But we've kept our car companies, and but it's a fraction of what it used to be. We had the glory days We were making everybody's cars. The Cadillac was the most beautiful. My father having a Cadillac, he'd get a Cadillac every 2 years. That was his definition of luxury. I just want a Cadillac every 2 years. That was, and today, they don't talk so much about that. We're going to take care of our military better. We're going to take care of our military better than anybody. With our military, we took care of our veterans better than anybody has ever taken care. We took care of our veterans. We got a 92% approval rating, and now it's back down to 44 or 43. We did choice. We had choice. So if a person had to wait, one of our great, because I call them heroes, one of our great heroes had to wait for a doctor, they could go out. If they had to wait more than 1 day, they go out and they get a doctor, we pay the bill. And in the end, it was not only was it good for them, it was also even efficient, because some of these people were dying. They'd wait for 4, 5, 6, 7 months. And we have great doctors in the VA, but the problem was the administration. And our guys did a fantastic job. We did another thing in the VA. We got rid of all the statists and the sickos or wackos. You couldn't fire them because of civil service laws. And I got this all passed. We got this all passed in Congress. It was an amazing thing to get it passed in Congress. They were trying for 58 years for one and for 54 years for the other. And it worked out great. And now I understand that as of like yesterday, they're trying to get rid of, they call it choice. We have a choice of going outside, getting a doctor. And I understand that they're trying to end that program. They don't like that program, that this group of people that have no idea what they're doing don't like it. So they'll go back to waiting, but we'll get it back. We'll get it back so fast your head will spin. They want to end it. They don't like it for some reason. I don't know why, but they don't like it. People were getting instant care. And it wasn't very expensive when you take into the fact that, and just take a look at this. You have a guy, he gets sicker. Then he becomes terminally ill, and they have to take care. In the end, I think it's probably cost effective, but I don't even care about the cost in that case. We take care of our people. Who would want to wait months to get, in some cases, a simple pill or a simple shot? And it was a terrible thing, but we had a 92% approval rating, the highest ever. The people that I had there did a fantastic job. We're going to bring it all back. We're going to bring it back fast. And one other thing, I mean, isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't have to read these stupid teleprompters, isn't it? Sort of interesting. I haven't looked at him in the last 15 minutes. It's like interesting, but it's I just do what we have to do. But we did another program, Right to Try. It's the greatest thing. For 51 years, they've been trying to get it because we have the best doctors, the best lab technicians, the best labs, the best everything, and nobody could get it done. We would have something that really looked good for a certain disease or problem. It really looked good, but they couldn't do anything because the FDA wouldn't be able to approve it for years. I got that number way down, by the way, but they wouldn't be able to approve it for years. And what would happen was terrible. They would go to Asia, they'd go to Europe, they'd go all over, if they had money. Most of them didn't have money. They go home and they die. They die. So I said, we got to do something about this. And they've been trying for 50 years. They couldn't get it done because the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The insurance companies certainly didn't want it. The labs didn't want it. Nobody wanted it, but everybody, they knew it was good, but they didn't want it. I got everybody into a room and I said, listen, we're going to sign an agreement. There's not going to be any liability to anybody. If somebody's terminally ill, they're going to sign a document that they're not going to sue the insurance company, they're not their family. They're not going to sue anybody. They're not going to sue the doctor, the lab. They're not going to sue anybody. Everything's going to be fine, and we're going to try it and see how it works. It's been so successful. We have saved thousands and thousands of lives with this new medicine. It's a new age. I call it new age medicine, but we've saved thousands of people. People don't write about it. It's called Right to Try. A lot of people know. I hope nobody needs it, to be honest with you. But it's been so. I've never read anything about it. They don't want to write about it, and if they don't, that's okay. The fact is that Thousands of people have been saved. Their lives have been saved. And many were terminal, and now they're actually okay. They're not even terminal. It's not like they have to even go. It literally cured. And even the doctors now and the medical, the medical companies, the labs, they're really happy they did it, because when you can cure somebody when they're that sick, it really shows it worked. It sort of worked out the opposite. It really shows that it works. So right to try. It's been a great thing, and we're honored to have done it. One of the deadliest and most vicious migrant gangs that Kamala has imported into our country, the savage Venezuelan prison gang. They form in the Venezuelan prisons. It's called Tren de Aragua. That's taking over apartment complexes and unleashing a violent terror spree in our country. Let's take a look. Take a look at this.
Open borders, deadly consequences.
Border crisis. Record-high crossings are putting a strain on cities across America. It is a full-blown invasion.
Armed Venezuelan gang members storming an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado.
When people talk about lack of crime, this is what they're talking about. Biden and Harris had created a program to bring them in under humanitarian parole.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been released into the United States.
My 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room. Kayla's murderer was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S.
Kayla's murderer had been improperly released into the United States.
Abolish ICE. Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
More than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
New details in the murder of Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national.
And was paroled and released into the country by the Biden administration.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
Court documents suggest a group of men arrested for beating and robbing a Dallas woman last month are members of a Venezuelan street gang.
Manuel Hernandez was booked by Colleyville police just 2 days earlier and released the day before the robbery.
That's what's happening. These are the people we're letting in. And you remember where she was saying that they don't commit crimes like our people. Really? These are worse than anybody. They make our criminals look like they're nice people. These are rough, horrible people. They cannot be allowed to stay in our country. The United States is now an occupied country, in effect. But on November 5th, 2024, we will have a thing called Liberation Day. We're going to have Liberation Day. In the last year alone, over 70,000 illegal aliens from China have crossed our border. You know about that. Many of them military-aged men, 70,000 in a year. 70,000, that's getting to be Army territory. And that's the equivalent of over 14 brigades or 5 Army divisions of Chinese illegals that have penetrated our country. Again, these are military-aged, mostly men, almost all men. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that nice? Under borders, Harris, she has no idea. The woman doesn't have a clue. Again, she's sleeping now while I'm working my ass off. Under borders, Harris, there have been at least 2 million gotaways. That's gotaways. They come through and nobody knows where the hell they're from. And that's, by the way, nobody has any idea. The number, if they think it's 2 million, it's probably 5 times that amount. 2 million gotaways from all over the world who charged the border and disappeared into the United States. They could be living right next to you in North Carolina, lovely house, little cabin right next to you. More than the entire active duty force of the United States military. This is the kind of numbers we're talking about, and they're rough. They're rough people. Who would have allowed this to happen? Who would have allowed this to happen? The only good thing coming from this crime against our country is if you happen to be the person that's running against the idiots that allowed it to take place. That's me. I'm running against them. It's good to run against it, but I'd rather not be running against it, and I'd rather not have it happen. Immediately upon taking the oath of office, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. We have no choice. It's not sustainable. I will rescue every town across America that's been invaded and conquered. They're conquering towns. And these fools, these stupid people back there, the media, they're not taking to say, oh, he used the word conquer. The governor of Colorado, he's a radical left Democrat. He's petrified he doesn't know what to do. And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in a jail or kick them the hell out of our country as fast as we can. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Think of that. 1790, you know what? That's when we had real politicians, real people that knew what to do, not these weak, woke fools. So I have to go back to 1798. Can you believe it? But it's a strong one. Think of it, Alien Enemies Act of 1798. They used it to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil to make our people safe. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty. And we have to do this. I'm calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or an law enforcement officer. You kill an American citizen or a law enforcement officer, you get the death penalty. And we'll get that approved, too, because Congress is going to approve it. They're feeling the way you are. I will end catch and release. Thank you. I have to ask this man in the black, are you the man that I met yesterday or not? That's you're just as good. No, I met some great people yesterday. I saw the devastation. It was incredible. He just said, no, you didn't meet me, but I love you, man. Thank you. That's cool. You're very cool. You're very cool. Thank you. I will end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will end all migrant flights. They fly in by plane. They come in. We only learned that like less than a year ago. They said, we're going to start closing up the border a little bit. Well, all they have to do, she could walk into the White House, say, wake Biden up. I want him to sign something. And all he has to do is say, close the border. He doesn't need a bill. The bill was so horrible. He says, Donald Trump called the Senate, said, don't pass it. It's wonderful. I wish I could do that, okay? Not that easy. But the truth is, I had nothing to do with it. And I would be proud to do it because it was such a bad bill. But he doesn't need a bill. I didn't have a bill. I closed the border. I had the safest border. You see it. I had the safest border in the history of our country. We now have the worst border in the history of the world, maybe in the history of the world. And again, it's the number one thing to campaign on. I think the inflation is horrible. The economy, everything. We have a lot of bad things. The number when you see those killers, those guys that have military-style weapons. People are saying, where the hell do people coming out of Venezuela, young thugs that are tough as hell, by the way, where do they get this equipment? But I think it's the number one thing, and we're going to have it fixed. I fixed it in 2016. I fixed it. I did it so good I couldn't talk about it for the next election. My people said, sir, they don't want to hear about the border. I said, what do you mean you don't want to hear? I did such a great job. I fixed it. We had the best border. But that border was 5% of what it is now. That border was bad. It was really bad, but it wasn't very tough for me to fix. That border was nothing compared to the mess you have now. We don't have a border. And I built hundreds of miles of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build. Then we added 200, and they didn't want to put up the slats. And you know what they did? Many of them were sold for 5 cents on the dollar. It's just so sold. I will outlaw sanctuary cities immediately, and I will ban all welfare and federal benefits for illegals. We are running against the most radical, most incompetent, most unfit vice president running for president. Can you believe it? In the history of our country, she's totally unfit for office. No one respects her. No one trusts her. No one takes her seriously. And something is clearly wrong with her. Something is wrong with her. Something's wrong with her, and something's wrong with this vice president. He is off. She can't put 2 sentences together. How about 60 Minutes? Was that the greatest? You know, we're probably going to sue him just for the hell of it. Listen. 60 Minutes, she interviews. She was so bad. She gave an answer. This never happened to me. Why does it happen? She gave an answer that was so bad that they changed it. They took it out, threw it out. They didn't edit a little bit, take a word out. No. They took the entire, it was a long, stupid, she didn't know where the hell she was going. Does she drink? Is she on drugs? I don't know. I have no idea. She writes 60 Minutes, big 60 Minutes CBS. They have to be licensed by the federal government. They should take their license away. What they did, CBS, and they're all bad. How about David Muir? How bad is he? I said, crime is going up. And he said, no, it's not. It's going down. I said, it's going up. He said, crime is going down. Next question. The next day, they released the numbers. Crime's up 45% in our country. I don't watch him anymore. Pretty boy, little pretty boy he is. So they think it. She gives this horrible answer. They take every word of it and they throw it away and they insert another answer. That's called election interference, and it's called fraud. And they should have their life. And all the other guys back there are sticking up for them. You know why? Because they do the same thing probably. They don't do it for me. You know what they do with me? They make my answer worse. No, they take out, if I give, because I do the weave. You know the weave? I'll tell the story and I'll go from here being. It's actually genius, I have to say. And fair and smart people say it's total genius. But they say, oh, he wandered. I didn't wander. Wander is when you don't get back to the same point. No, I give the wave. They don't do anything for me. What they do with me is I give a beautiful paragraph, and they'll take some of the primary sentences out. And that's terrible to do. But that you can sort of get away with. I can even understand it. They want to make it a little shorter. They want a little more time. They don't pay anything for their license. They have a license that's worth billions of dollars. They don't pay anything. Neither does NBC fake news. And ABC fake news is really one of the worst, I will tell you. ABC, but this is CBS. They don't pay for, they use our airwaves. They don't pay anything. And then you hear that 60 Minutes, which is a news show, it's under their news division. So they're not allowed. This isn't an entertainment show. But they took the sentence, not the sentence, they took a whole paragraph, big paragraph, just word after word. That was like the 32 that I listened to, 32, with the teleprompter where she basically choked and froze like a dog. But that was like the 32. They took it out and they inserted a new answer that was more rational. Wasn't great, but it was, at least you don't say, what's wrong with this person? Where did you ever hear them doing that? That's called election. This is an election. We're in the middle of an election. She gave a horrible answer on a news show that pays nothing for the airwaves that are worth billions of dollars. And the other networks stick up because they don't want it to happen to them either. They don't want to see a bidding contest for who's going to do the news. But there has to be some kind of justice in this country. You can't take her answer out, insert a new answer, and say, this is called major election interference fraud. So we'll see what happens. I actually think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history. I really believe that. I think it's the biggest scandal. Nobody's seen anything like it, and people are furious about it, and they all come out with some answer. Well, we did this because of that, and that. No, they took the answer out, they put a new answer in. There's nothing, there's no justification, so we're probably going to take them to court. Should I take them to court? Okay. So we've asked them, we sent them a letter yesterday, we've asked for the entire transcript. Now we want to see, did they do it in other places too? And we'll see what happens, but good. So I have your permission, right? Who would think of these things? I mean, who would think? And it was a mistake. They made a mistake. That's how everybody found them. They made a mistake. They put out the original answer. Somehow somebody saw the original answer, said, that's not the answer she gave. And when they went back, they feel it was, they found out it was a fraud. It was a fraud on the American public, and they should pay a big price for it. And if they do pay a big price, it won't happen anymore. She's an international joke, and she's going to end up getting us into World War III, and Kamala is in free fall. She's in free fall with Arab and Muslim voters. Now in Michigan, did you notice that my poll numbers are very good with the Arab voters? Did you see that? My poll numbers are very good. I appreciate it. You know why? You know why? Because I want peace in the Middle East. I want peace. I did the Abraham Accords. I want peace in the Middle East. So it's very simple. It's not, I want to see peace in the Middle East. But my poll numbers in Michigan are very good with they were supposed to, I was supposed to be 0. She was supposed to be 100. Now I'm beating her because they see how bad she is. But they don't like or respect her. She's sent their overseas, I mean, you take a look. She's sent their jobs overseas. She's brought in crime to the cities. She's taken in all of this tremendous fire. She's okay with it that took place in the Middle East. But you ask yourself, why would Muslims support Lion Kamala Harris when she embraces Muslim-hating and very dumb person Liz Cheney, a dumb person, who, by the way, lost for Congress in the biggest margin in the history of politics. She lost by almost 40 points. The reason she has that honor is that most people wouldn't have stayed in. A congressperson that's in that position normally retires before the election, which would have been a good idea for her to do. But Liz Cheney's a total loser. But her father brought years of war and death to the Middle East. He killed many Arabs, many Arabs and Muslims. And now Lion Kamala has embraced Liz Cheney. She embraced her. And why would a Muslim or why would an Arab want to vote for somebody that has Liz Cheney as her hero? Liz Cheney is a totally failed politician. Again, she set the worst record. I think it's a terrible mistake that she's made. I think it's a great insult to Muslims all over the world, and I think that she's going to do very bad in Michigan. I really do. I think she's going to do very badly. To do that was a bad thing, and I was very surprised to see it. But in one way, I was happy because you have to understand I'm competing against her. I'm competing against this stupid person. I think we are winning by a lot. I have a feeling we're winning by a lot. But this person cannot be president. By the way, is there any place better to be than a Trump rally? And don't get used to this because it's only going to go on for another 2 weeks. Isn't that just, it's really simple. It's only going to go on in 4 years, you'll be having rallies of 100 people, 200 people. Mr. Wall will be doing other things. Front row Joes are going to be doing, oh, these guys are boring as hell. We got 2 more weeks together with our big, we had 101,000 people in Butler. Think of that. We had 107,000 people in New Jersey. We're making a move for New Jersey, too. And 2 weeks ago in California, we had 109,000 people. So don't get too used to this. What are you going to do, Mr. Wall, when you come to a rally and there's like 150 people? What are you going to do? Oh. Yeah. You like, right? You like, that's very good. That's good. Good man, I'll tell you that. When the people of North Carolina were stranded and drowning in Hurricane Helene, Kamala Harris was at a glitzy fundraiser in the city that she destroyed, San Francisco. She spent the last 4 years, taking your money to provide shelter and benefits to illegal aliens. But when North Carolina needed help, Kamala Harris was nowhere to be found. You know, they spent your money. You know, they're going to probably have to call an emergency meeting, a special session of Congress, because the illegal migrants, many of them killers, many of them drug dealers, many of them released from prison, have taken the money that they were supposed to spend in North Carolina and Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee and Florida and South Carolina. The money was supposed to be spent in those states, and they don't have the money now. They don't have the money because they've spent hundreds, think of it, hundreds of millions of dollars they've spent flying migrants into states all over the country and letting them go through your porous wall. Kamala Harris does not have the compassion, the smarts, or the strength to be president of the United States. She can't do the job. She's not mentally or physically able to do the job. And on top of all of it, she says she would not do anything differently. She would not do anything differently, she said, than crooked Joe Biden, which is disqualifying. When you see this tape, you're going to say she's disqualified. He's the worst president. 85% wrong direction. What would you do differently? Well, I can't think of anything now. Let's take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Sit there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuations from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers. Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind. More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
Nadia Ashmore was in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on special immigrant visa.
Secretary details the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022. 2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder and the death of Jocelyn Nunley.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
The cost of homes have spiked. Home buyers need to earn 80% more than they did in 2020 to afford a house.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
So North Carolina, if you want to end this disaster, you must go out. Just go out and vote. We got to win this. We got to get this thing. We're pleased to be joined tonight by some really great people, and one of them I'm very proud of. He's done a great job as your senator, Ted Budd. Where is Ted? Ted. Thank you, Ted. You're doing a great job. He's doing a great job. Proud of you, Ted. Really good. Congresswoman Virginia Fox, a warrior. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you. Congressman Dan Bishop. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. a man who's been really fantastic. All I know is they had more people show up in the last 4 days than in 2016 or 2020. And many of these people lost their homes. They lost everything. And we had more people. We set a record. Can you believe that? That shows enthusiasm. That shows North Carolina GOP Chair Jason Simmons. Thank you, Jason. Great job. How are we doing, Jason? We're going to win the state big, I hope. 3 times in a row, right? Jason's great. A great friend of mine and really a friend of my boy, Don Addison McDowell. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you, Addison. Oh, you're looking better and better. Look at you. Looks like a real congressman. He's going to be fantastic. Somebody that I've got a lot of respect for. I have for a long time. From the day I met him, I respected him. He was a very successful businessman. He was a great senator. He's a very special guy. David Perdue. David? Thank you. Thank you, David. Thanks. One of the biggest and best developers around, a man who's made a lot of money, and he's very generous, including with North Carolina. He writes a check for everything. He's just a great person, a very generous man. Steve Witkoff. Steve, thank you for the help. Thank you. And Peter Navarro, I hope you heard from him. This guy is they say threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy. Nobody would have done what they did to him. Nobody would have done what they did to Peter Navarro. He fought for our country so hard. I was witness to it for 4 years. That guy fought harder than anybody I know. And then they did what they did to him. They're a bunch of bad people. They weaponized the Justice Department. They weaponized the FBI. And I've had more investigations than any human being, including Alphonse Capone, the meanest, Scarface. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. They even raided my house, a little place on the beach called Mar-a-Lago. No, but think of it. They raided my house. Can you believe this is the scum that we have to deal with? This is the scum. What they did to him and other of our friends and friends of the people in this room, it's a disgrace. And Peter, you're going to go down as a hero. You watch. Thank you. We also have former Democrat Congresswoman and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, a woman that everybody loves. I watched her years ago where she just had so much common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense. I like to say it because it's true. Like, we don't want men playing in women's sports. We want to have borders. We want to have fair elections. You know, little things like that, common sense, right? But she's here tonight, and I'm going to just ask her to come up and say a couple of words. Tulsi Gabbard.
Thank you very much. Aloha. You know, I was a Democrat for over 20 years. Today's Democrat, thank you. Today's Democrat Party is completely unrecognizable, which points to the clear choice that we have in this election today. When you look at the party of Kamala Harris, for example, she is anti-freedom, she is pro-censorship, she is pro-open borders, and she is pro-war. Without even pretending to care about peace, as President Trump talked about, she has shamelessly embraced the endorsement and support of warmongers like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and others who care more about power and feeding the military-industrial complex than they care about you, the American people, and peace. President Trump has pledged to end wars, not start them. And this is why, in the eyes of the Kamala Harris, Dick Cheney Democrat Party, they will do everything possible to try to destroy him. You'll see how they have weaponized the federal government. They have weaponized law enforcement, the Department of Justice. They have done everything possible to try to silence him, to try to remove him from the ballot, so we the people don't even have the choice to who we want to vote for. Why have they done this? Because this man has the courage to take them on and root out the deep rot of corruption in the swamp in Washington. Now, voters have made their voices heard loud and clear, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the last 3 presidential elections, nominating this man to be the Republican nominee for president because of his commitment to these fundamental American principles of freedom and peace and prosperity. USA. Now, to those of you here or those watching at home who are independent-minded people like myself, who love our country and are committed to the Constitution and to freedom, the Democrat Party has no home for people like us. But we do have a home in the Republican Party where we are welcomed with open arms by President Trump and so many of you who love our country. And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace. So, as we stand here today, we have 14 days until the most historic election of our lives. And my message to my fellow Americans, regardless of your political affiliation, now is the time for us to stand together to save our country. There is nothing less than that that's on the line. A vote for President Trump is a vote for a big open tent party that welcomes people from all backgrounds and all walks of life. A vote for President Trump is a vote to express our deep love for our country and our appreciation for our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. A vote for President Trump is a vote for secure borders and safe communities, and a vote for President Trump is a vote for peace here in America and around the world. I'm looking forward to casting my vote for President Trump because you are our best and only hope in this election to lead our country toward a future where every one of us can live in a truly free, peaceful, and prosperous nation. Every single vote will count. This is our opportunity to vote for freedom, to vote for peace, to vote for America, and vote for President Trump to go back to the White House and make America great again. Thank you so much.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Tulsi, that's great. Wow. That was a surprise. That was really, she's been independent for a long time. That's a great thing, a great honor. Thank you very much, Tulsi. And what a beautiful speech you made, right? Wasn't that beautiful? You know, I'd like to also honor somebody who really has gone through a lot, and I hope he's going to really be helping us a lot. He's got some tremendous ideas and for making us healthy and well, and that's RFK Jr. He's a very special guy, and I just want to thank him because he sort of came in at the same time as Tulsi, and he's got some incredible thing on your health, on women's health, and all of the different elements. I may have to fight him a little bit on the environment because we have to run this country so well, but that's okay. But he's really an outstanding guy, and it was not an easy decision for him, certainly. But RFK Jr., thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here are the facts on Kamala, just in wrapping it up. Oh, you thought he was here? No, he was. I was wondering. I said, no, he is here in spirit. I can guarantee you he's here. And I'll bring him to the next one, but you won't be. He's great. He's got some really incredible ideas, and he's so committed. It's incredible. So thank you very much to Bobby. But here are the facts on Kamala Harris. She's a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas. She destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and anybody who wants to defund the police, even for a day or a week, is not worthy of being president of the United States. Can't be. Kamala Harris vowed to abolish ICE. ICE is a great, powerful people, strong people, because that's their job. They have to get some of the worst gang members and drug dealers and everything else out of our country. I know a lot of great, tough people right here, but they don't want that job. But she wants to get rid of them. She wants to take them out. We're not taking them out. We're going to make them bigger and stronger because we have a lot of work to do in cleaning up our country and making our country safe. She vowed repeatedly to ban fracking as California Attorney General. You know this, as California Attorney General. She redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as a totally nonviolent crime. Think of that. And she pledged, now she's so far left, she pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. You know, as soon as that comes up, she will literally guaranteed confiscate your guns. And she even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention. All at taxpayer expense. And as you know, we had a little trip to McDonald's a couple of days ago. And she lied about working at McDonald's. It was a part of her story. I worked over the French fries, so I decided to see what it was like. And those French fries were good. They were good. They were right out of whatever the hell they make them out of, but they were. No, but think of it, and the press refuses to acknowledge it. They refuse to cover it. They have tried, and McDonald's denies it. And she never worked there. They went to everybody. Some people went and really did spend a lot of time on it. No, she lied, and she's a liar. And on top of all of this, Kamala turned our military as woke as it can be, which is not woke because they are great. What they did for me with ISIS was, these are not woke people. But take a look.
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers!
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer? Sir, yes, sir! Let me see your war face! Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face! Now let me see your war face! Ah! Bullshit! You didn't convince me! Let me see your real war face! Ah!
I hear it and I know I know you wanna take.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
How to abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I.
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up with the brown stain on the mattress. I love working for Uncle Sam. I love working for Uncle Sam. Let me know just who I am. Let me know just who I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you. You got to remember, we won 2 world wars. We won a lot of things. Well, most recently, we did defeat ISIS, and they said that couldn't be done. It was going to take 5 years. It took 4 weeks. We have a great military, and they're not woke. Some of the stupid people up top are woke, but they're not woke. You couldn't make them woke if you tried. You couldn't make them. You could put them in what's called a woke cage for 2 years, and they'd come out fighting, believe me. So in conclusion, with your vote this November, we are going to fire Kamala Harris, and we are going to save America. With your support, we will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina. They're coming back. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American again. I will end the war in Ukraine very quickly. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. We're so close. The biggest risk is this number of months before January 20th. We will crush the violent crime that's plaguing our cities and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect they so dearly deserve. They will stop the crime. We will strengthen and modernize our military. You know, we rebuilt the entire military. And then they gave a lot of our military was given to Afghanistan. Isn't that nice? Think of that. How about that? That was the most embarrassing moment in the history. 13 dead soldiers, many, many horrifically wounded with arms and legs obliterated. They gave billions of dollars of equipment. They didn't take Bagram, the air base. They should have kept Bagram. It's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear missiles. Isn't that nice? They didn't take it. And we left people behind. We left Americans behind. They moved the military out first. A child, you know, I had one of the rallies and I had this little 5 or 6 year old boy in the front row, and I called him up to the stage. His mother was horrified, you know, I understand. But he was up here, little kid, and I gave him the facts in about 2 minutes. I said, would you move the military out first or last? I'd move the military out last, sir. These stupid people move the military out first. And you know, I didn't lose one soldier. In 18 months, I had a talk with Abdul, who was the head of the Taliban. Abdul, still there, he's still the head. And we had a talk. because they were killing a lot of our soldiers with sniper fire and other things, and a lot of them with Obama and Biden, but basically Obama. I don't think Biden knew where the hell he was then either. So they were killing our soldiers, and I told them I don't have to get into the conversation. For 18 months, we didn't lose one soldier. Then we had a tragic election, tragic. Think of our country. We wouldn't have had inflation, least importantly. We wouldn't have had inflation, but we wouldn't have had Russia going into Ukraine. Zero chance, zero. Wouldn't have ever happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. Even the Democrats, most of them agree, the honest ones, which there aren't too many of them, but even they say it wouldn't have happened. And October 7th with Israel would have never happened. They wouldn't have killed all those people. Those people were killed. And the hostages, now they're waiting for the hostages. There won't be many hostages. There are not going to be a lot of hostages. Those people are probably long gone. So many of them. I've been saying that for a long time. That's part of the problem. The other side doesn't know what to do because they don't have the hostages. It's a very sad situation. That would have never happened. All these things would have never happened. Think of the difference in the world. Viktor Orban, the head of Hungary, Prime Minister of Hungary, very powerful guy. He said, they said to him, what's going on in the world? It's blowing up in the Middle East. It's blowing up with Russia, Ukraine. What's going on? You didn't have any of this stuff when Trump was here. What is going on? He said, the problem is you don't have Trump. You put Trump back. It's all going to be better. They would have never done this with Trump as president. It's interesting. Right? Peter knows, right, Peter? We will build a missile defense shield all around our country. We're going to be safe. We're going to be made in the USA. It's going to be made in North Carolina, partially. We will land an American astronaut on Mars, and we'll call Elon, let's get going. We want to do that. But we really want to, and as part of that, we were in big trouble in space. China was lapping us, and Russia was lapping us. And I created Space Force. And now we're lapping the whole world with Space Force. They've done a great job. Part of that whole thing is about military and military protection. It's going to be very important. It's going to be one of the really best decisions we ever made doing Space Force. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we're going to go to Congress and ask very strongly, because that little riot that they had 3 months ago, they were burning American flags all over the place. We're going to ask Congress they say it's unconstitutional, I disagree, to give a 1-year prison sentence for anybody burning the American flag. Early on. That's right. That's very nice. Very good. You came prepared. Look at you. We will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech, and I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, our Second Amendment. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country and defend our borders and protect our citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all, and it will be stopped. And again, we're going to let people into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be conquered. We will be a free and proud nation once again. Everyone will prosper, every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with opportunity and hope. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left lunatic agenda. And we have to have a landslide of an election that's too big to rig. We have to get out. We got to get out. Early voting is underway, so get everyone you know, get your friends, get your family, get Alice to get her husband, who just will not get off that couch. Come on, Jack. Let's go, Jack. You got to do it, Jack. You can do it. Turn off the television just for an hour. We'll be right back, Jack. Turn off that football game. It doesn't really mean anything, Jack, especially with the new kickoff return. Did you ever see anything so stupid in your life? They have to ruin things at work. Is that the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen? After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. With your help now until Election Day, we will redeem America's promise. We will put America first, and we will take back the nation that we love. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And we will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. And we will never, ever, ever, ever surrender. Together, we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. And together, we will make America powerful again. Make America wealthy again. Make America healthy again. Come on, Bobby. Bobby's going to do it. Bobby, let's go, Bobby. You're going to make us healthy, Bobby. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
Wow. There it is. Live from Studio 6B, Real America's Voice. President Trump just finishing up his
I don't know why I took it off the screen, but let's see.
That was a long one. He was on there for
Anyway,
nearly
thank
2
you for
hours.
joining us tonight. Another great night. 2
Slick
weeks.
here. Slick, how are you?
2 weeks
good,
from
how are you
tonight.
I'm doing
Okay?
better once I see the
So
towel dance start.
get out
You know, when he
and
starts,
vote.
Take
Anyone and everyone with you that you can.
milking the cow.
Come on. This is it.
President Trump
This
just
is it.
rousing the crowd up.
My husband and I voted yesterday.
I think the biggest surprise for me,
and
I
it
think
says I voted.
you kind of did the same thing.
2024.
When Tulsi Gabbard
So
came up,
depending upon your state,
I know he's had
get
people at
out
his rallies.
there
They've
and
come up
vote.
and spoken before.
Or be sure
for her
November
to
5th
drop the
to go.
bombshell there.
All right.
That she
but
was.
we
she had
appreciate
left,
you
know,
guys
she was
joining
now,
us tonight. It is another blessed evening that we get to hear from our commander-in-chief, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait until he is back in that White House. So anyway, give us a thumbs up, please, and follow us, Freedom of America 1776, here either on YouTube. Also, we are on Rumble at Freedom of America 1776, and we're also on Twitch. So join us there as well, Freedom of America 1776. And if you're on APNX, thank you for joining us. And please be sure to go over to one of those and help us grow our Patriot family. Because I know that things have been exciting, but I think it's going to get a lot more exciting because these people are not going to just say, okay, he won. So we need to make sure that we can all always stay in touch and pray for our president, pray for our country, and pray for our fellow Americans that are in need of prayer right now. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you back here tomorrow for President Trump again. Have a great evening, everyone. Be blessed.